If you've thought you've seen all the uses of Excel, then wait until you get a look at this coffee shop and cafe point of sale software built in Excel. Hi, this is Randy with Excel for Freelancers, and today I'm going to show you how to create this incredible point of sale application complete with add-ins, cup sizes, features, formats that you've never seen before. We're going to do all of that and a whole lot more. In fact, we're going to do it all from scratch. Every format, every formula, every feature, complete with coding and design. I cannot wait. So let's get started. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I am super excited to bring you this week's training, a coffee shop and cafe POS, point of sale software. This is a really incredible training because we've got so many features. In fact, we're going to do it entirely from scratch. That means all the screen design and all of the coding from scratch right in front of you. So it's a training you're just not going to want to miss. You're going to learn so much. By the end of this training, you're going to be able to create this coffee shop and cafe POS for yourself. In fact, this template is absolutely free. All you need to do is click the link down below and we'll get you set up with your name and email. We'll get that sent over to you. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click the like button and the notification icon. That'll ensure that you get these trainings notified each and every week when I create these incredible trainings using Microsoft Excel. In fact, I love to create these trainings for you. It's what I do. I want to make you not just good with Excel, but successful with Excel. And that's my goal, is to teach you how to create these applications. In fact, I've got a mentorship program that'll help you with just that. In my mentorship program, I go over every step, every single phase of the process, whether you're defining or you're designing your applications. We're going to teach you how to go through the develop and the deployment stage. So all four of those stages we're going to be going. Inside that course, I'm going to be creating an incredible accounting application. And that's going to be a full-featured accounting application that you also get with the course. So I'll include the link down below. It would be great to have you in the mentorship course. So we'll get that set up for you. Go ahead and click the link down below. All right, let's get started on this training. I want to give you an overview of the features. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start out with this blank worksheet. So first, I want to show you the sample, how it's going to work, what we're going to be designing, give you a little bit of a rundown. Then we're going to change workbooks and we're going to be designing it and coding it from scratch. So it's going to take a little bit of a while. So make sure you grab your beverage of choice. I don't want you to miss a step of this. I might move a little fast, so feel free to slow the video down, watch it as many times as you want. It's always going to be available right here on YouTube. All right, so basically what we have is we have 6 different categories. We have all categories. In each category, we've got about 10 or so items. Brewed coffee. So keep that in mind. As we select on it, it's going to show just those items. Smoothies, bakeries, and then roasted beans. So when you have a specific category and you want to select on an item, let's go to a brand new order so we can see that. When we select on a brewed coffee, we can choose the size. Notice automatically it's here on the receipt, brewed coffee medium. We can select a large or small, and that's going to change the description. We can also have add-ons, whether we want maybe no sugar, or maybe we want added soy milk, or maybe we want light chocolate syrup. We can have all those get added onto those items, right? So also if it is a cold beverage, so we're going to show a different type of cup design, small or large. We can choose the level, and again, just with the add-ons. Now these add-ons have different types and things like that. Bakeries would have a different type of add-on. We've got a few. If I select a bakery, we can choose to have it heated up or on a plate, so we can have those items. And roasted beans would have their own type of add-ins. So add-ins are they don't have any sizes on those, although we could certainly add sizes, bags of beans, so it's certainly possible. So you could choose whether you want ground coffee or whole bean and things like that. Once you have your order up, you want to make a payment. We've got a total of $34, so maybe we're going to make a $40 payment. We just enter the payment here and enter the payment amount. It's fully touchscreen compatible. You can print the order, dine in or take away if we want. Just selecting here, it's going to make that change. Print the order. It's going to print to your default printer or whatever printer you set up for it. And that's mine is Snagit. And then we're going to go to the next order. We also have a payment type, whether it's cash, credit card, or gift card. It's going to change right here. We can look up, so we can go to the next order. We can look up any order just by entering the order number here. It's going to pull up a previous order. And so that's pretty much it. It's a really cool, it's a really cool application. Real quick, in the admin, we've got some default. We have a location where those pictures are. We have item types. These are the 6 item types. whether we're charging sales tax or not. We have the default size. For example, when you have a brand new drink, what is the default size? What is your default payment, cash, credit card, or gift card? What is the location? Is it takeaway or dine in? And then we have just some information for some pictures, right? Small, hot drinks have separate pictures. Cold drinks have separate pictures. So if we take a look inside the coffee, we see in the tea, if we have a cold tea, we've got some different drink pictures. If we have a hot tea, we've got the hot container. So kind of a nice way to do that. Otherwise, we've got order items. This keeps track of, let's go to the orders. We have our orders, right? Whether it's been paid or not. All of our orders here, the date, location, the total. The individual items on there, we have that. We have the shop items, and those, it means all the shop items separated by category. Remember, we have category. If it's a drink type, is it hot or cold? And what type is it? Is it a drink, or is it food or bean, something like that? We have a small, a medium, and a large. We have different sales prices located. And so that means if we have a coffee, so let's take a look at a brand new order here. And if we choose a green tea and we have a green tea for $3.54, the medium, the small is $2.95, the large is $4.25. So the price changes automatically as we change the size. And certain add-ins could be free or they could be additions. So if we want to add fresh milk, it's a 75-cent charge. So keep that in mind. Obviously, if we want an espresso shot inside our tea, it's 50 cents. So we can add prices onto those add-ins, which is nice. And so we've got a list of add-ins here. So, and then a price associated with that. All right, so that's pretty much it, the overall. What I want to do is I want to get started right away on this. If you take a look at this design, I get some designs ideas. A lot of you ask, how do you get your design ideas? Well, lately I've been using Midjourney. Midjourney is really, really cool. Let's take a look at this here. Midjourney is an AI engine, and I got some of the ideas from the designs. If we look here, not that, that's kind of a nice house, but that had nothing. So I decided I wanted, I knew what I was doing. So I put in Midjourney and I just put in, I want a beautiful yet simple point of sale for a coffee shop, light brown and cream colors. So it kind of gave me a good reference to go on. And a lot of you have asked me, hey, where do you get your designs from? So I got a lot of them from here. And that's where I got the color codes and the color ranges from here. And there were some backgrounds that I didn't like too much, but it kind of gave me some backgrounds. I was thinking of going with a background like this, but I chose something simple. So it's kind of cool. And then also I did the logo here too. The logo that you see here. Down here, I chose a logo. I want a single color dark brown coffee shop logo. So I chose this upper left logo. And then what I did is in another photo, I just changed the wording of that. So we got a logo, which we'll be adding. So I did all that in Midjourney. So keep that in mind. Midjourney is used on a platform called Discord. So this is Midjourney on top of Discord. And this is the Midjourney bot. Okay. So I just want to let you know real quick. That's a really helpful tool that I use. And I'm here to share all the tools. Okay. So this is the sample. What we're going to do is we're going to save this. In fact, I'm going to move it over to the side, my other screen here. And that way it's going to leave us with a blank sheet. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to start off on this. Everything else is the same. That means the admin's the same, the orders, the data. So everything else is pretty much here what we have, but we just have a blank sheet. We're going to be designing the sheet and we're going to be doing all the code from scratch. Sometimes I do both. Sometimes I do design. Today we're doing all the code. A lot of you have asked me for code. So we're going to do that for sure. And then we'll see how long it takes. Hopefully it won't take too long. All right. If I stop talking and start programming, it'll be quick. Let's go ahead and drop this down here. And what we're going to do is we're going to make these first two columns admin. So I'm just going to give those a unique color. If you've seen my trainings before, I do this in almost every training. I just have a few merge settings can help us with the formatting, some formatting. So we're going to call this coffee shop, same name, and a cafe POS. Okay. And then what I want to do is I'll give it a background soon. So there's not a whole lot going on the screen. So the VBA is going to take care of a lot of the screen things. I've got some more things. I've got an item size and some information. So here's going to be all of our images. We will going to need a sample. I've got some admin here that we're going to be adding in here. So we're going to have a search order up here in Q. So Q3 is going to that's going to be our search order field. So we'll put that in here, search order, and I'm going to put a background here, and then we'll put in some buttons here. So a search order, and I also want to know the register number. There's not a whole lot of fields on this screen, and we've got an order summary here, so we'll put in order summary. You just see some of the formattings are already set. It's going to help move things a little bit quicker because my videos are already long, and a lot of you have said, hey, I want shorter videos, but then you want coding from scratch. So I'm in a bit of a pickle here. How do I do everything and keep it quick? Location, take simpler applications is always easier, but I have ideas, and my ideas are not simple. Subtotal, so we're going to put a subtotal. We want to know that in. That's going to be the subtotal of all the receipts. And then I want to know tax, right? If there's going to be tax is going to be based on the admin, whether we're charging tax or not. The order total, which is simply the subtotal plus the tax, going to have that in there, and that's going to be located right in R10. Okay, next up, after order total, I want to know the payment type. What is that? The payment type. And then after that, I want total paid. How much did they paid? And then the change, whatever change due based on what they paid change. Okay, so we have that. And then there's not too much as far as the fields. We've got some, I'll add some borders around here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add the background to start giving us with this theme. So I'm gonna do the page layout. I'm gonna click on the background. And I've got a background that I created, and I'll just pull it out right here. And it's this background right here that you saw. Okay, so that's our background. We probably won't need the grid lines too much. So I'm going to just click view, and we don't need the grid lines for that. Okay, so our order summary is just this. We're going to use a consistent color, that brown color. So I'm going to use Control-1, and what that's going to do is going to bring up this border. I'm going to use this solid. This is our brown. I'm going to use this around solid all the way around here. And then I'll put some smaller lines in the middle, and I want this dotted line in the middle here, centering that. Okay, so very good. So that's good. These are the only two fields that are going to be user input if they want to, so we can add that here. But otherwise, it's pretty much touchscreen ready. These are going to be search orders. I'm going to do the same thing here. And then with the borders, a little bit slightly different. I'll probably do a thick border all the way around, inside and outside, and then the dotted line on the inside. Okay, so that looks good. We get the idea that we'll put a search order, a register, summary here. We're gonna have some buttons down here. So we're gonna have a lot of buttons, a lot of shapes, not a whole lot. However, this section here from M all the way to O, I want that to be in white because that's gonna be our receipt. So I'm just gonna go all the way down and put that as a white background. That's going to be so our receipt's going to go here. We're going to have our logo and some information here. Fredder will put the coffee and logo. So let's go ahead and add that logo here. So I'm going to have it twice. So I'm going to insert the pictures, and I've got a logo here. So I'm going to insert it, and then I'm going to just bring it over here, and then bring it a little bit smaller here. I'm going to duplicate that using Control-D, and I'm going to bring a smaller logo, and we're going to put it right up here. Okay, very good. So I like that. That's kind of gives us a nice idea for the receipt. Everything's looking good. Okay, we'll add in the name. So that's going to go in M9. Let's make this a little bit smaller here. The logo, we don't need it that big. And I'll put it in the center. This one we're going to call here, this is going to be Fredder's Coffee Company. There's a little bit of formatting that's already done already. That's going to help things move a little quicker. Company. So that's the name of our coffee company. And then I want to put the location here, Southeast Store, whatever, it's fine here. Okay, all right, next up, what I want to do is I want to put the order number here. So order number is going to go here, and I also want to know the register number, register. Now the register number and the order number are both linked to different fields. So the register number is simply going to be equals. So we'll put equals, and it's going to be whatever is in here. So if I put the register number to 345, right, 245, whatever, it's going to go right here. That's exactly what I want. The top of our receipt, we'll put a black dotted line on that. So I'll do Control-1 on that. It's going to launch that editor there. Formatting, and then we'll do alignment at border here. I'm going to use a dotted line here, just the basic dotted line, and then I'm going to put that up here. That should be sufficient. Okay, so I like that. It's going to separate. Our first item will go here in M13, and our add-ins can go in column N. Now what we'll do is we'll focus on a little bit of the admin, because I've got a good amount of admin fields here. The first is I want to know, I'm going to put a search in here. Let's say we put in search item, search order 1. I want to know the row that's associated with that search, whatever they put it, and I want to put it in here. So we're going to call this search order row. And then next up, I also want to know the selected category. What category is it? That could be helpful. Select a category. And I also want to know the selected order number. And next up, I want to know the order database row. What is the order database row? If I have an order, let's say I have order number 1, I want to know that's on row 4 or row 5 or so on and so forth. So that's important, the database row. I also want to know the next order ID, next order ID. Okay, so I'm going to give those a green color, and because those are all specific to the orders. So I'm going to give that, and then I'll just put some borders all the way around them. Okay, next up, I want specific for the selected item. If you remember, we have some categories and then we select coffee or whatever items and generally call them E and F. So I want to know information about the item we selected. So we're going to put selected item ID. What is the ID? Remember, every single shop item has their own ID. So I want to know what ID was selected. That's going to go inside B6. We're going to put that there. Inside, we're going to know the selected item database row. That means that row, that shop item row, this right here, I want to know what row is green tea on. Is it row 7? So that's important. I also want to know the select item type. What is the type? Selected item type. Is it a drink or is it a bread or whatever? And I also want to know I want to know the drink type, selected item. If it's a drink type, is it like hot or cold or something like that, right? So I want to know that. And next up, I want to know the selected size. If we're selecting small, medium, large, I need to know that. That's very important. So we're going to put selected size. That's going to go inside B10. We're also going to set the default size based on whatever the user selected in the admin. Okay, also inside 11, row 11, we're going to put the selected item price. Selected item price. I want to know the price, and that's going to be based on a formula. And I want to know the selected item row. So I want to know what row. So that means what row here, selected item, let's put in order row, just so we know. I want to be specific with the order row. So what row on the order? First one's going to be in row 13. So what row is that? That's important. And we'll explain a little bit why. Okay, so these are all associated with the item that we're working on. So I'm going to give those borders, I'm going to give those a different color. Remember, so when we select coffee or tea or whatever specific coffee, that's going to focus on there. Then we focus on add-ins. If you remember on our other screen, we have add-ins, right? Sugar or whipped cream or whatever. Those are add-ins. So I want to know information about that. So I want to know the selected add-in type, right? Our add-ins have different types. If we remember, we take a look inside our admins, we have drinks, beans, food, and different things. So I want to know the item type. So we're going to select the add-in type. That's going to go there in B13. I want to know the selected add-in ID. Add-ins have their own unique ID, and I need to know that. And I also want to know the database row, selected add-in database row associated with that add-in. So that's very important. And I also want to know the price for that, selected add-in price. That's going to be a formula. It's going to look up that price. And if it's no, in other words, we're excluding it, I think the price would be 0. But if we're adding it in, it could be a price. Some add-ins are free, right? Some, getting it heated wouldn't have a cost generally. Ice cubes shouldn't be, well, maybe, I don't know. So, but you can put it in here. So when I want to know the price that's associated with that. Okay, so great. So those are all associated with the add-ins. We're going to give those a unique color, this light blue here. Next up, I want to have some information just for the order information. So I want to know a tax string. We'll call it tax string. Tax string, and I'll explain that in a minute. And basically, it's the information associated with the tax. It'll say the name tax and the amount of the tax with that and with a percentage. So it's going to be like a string. It's going to say tax 8.5%. So I want that to put that right here. Also associated, I want to know the total paid. Now I've got that information here, but I want to put it also in another. So I want to know the total paid because this particular is not going to be formatted, but this one's going to be formatted. So we have paid here and paid here. And lastly, the last one is the order date and time. So I'm going to put that here. So I want to know the order date and time. And I'm going to also give those a unique color because those are just all associated with the order. So I'm going to use a blue, a little bit of a darker blue here. Okay, great. So that's all the admin we have. We're going to save our work so far. And we're going to take a look at some information. I've got some named range that we can go ahead and look through those and see how that's going to help us in this application. So we're going to go into the formulas, name manager, and take a look at some of the named range. We'll start at the top. I've got an add-in ID. If we tab using the tab key, we see that we've got an offset formula. They're almost always offset formulas because as our data increases, so will our named range. So we're using offset, and that's going to be for the add-in ID. I also want to have another named range for the add-in price because we're going to need to look up that price based on the ID. So I'm going to need one for the add-in price. And the criteria, those are just automated based on advanced filters, so we can get rid of those. I have one for default size. The default size is in the admin screen, whether it's small, medium, or large. We've got it. And the extractor also automated with advanced filters, so we can skip those. And we have an item drink type. Now, what is the item drink type? That is going to be based on this here, D3, all the way through the shop. Let's take a look at that. That's going to be based on the drink types here. So we see hot, cold, hot, based on the drink types. Okay, next up, we also have the item ID. What is the associated? These are all items. Our shop items are all items We have an ID associated with that. We also have an item type. What is the type? Is it a drink? Is it a bean, food? So we have that. We also have the item prices. Now these are 3 different columns. Keep in mind that item prices are associated with 3 different columns, small, medium, and large. Right? Some items only have a single price, and that would be the first column. Other items, such as drinks, have 3 different prices. We have an order ID. That's a named range I spoke of earlier, one for the order ID. And also, let's say we have one for the picture folder. That's going to be in the admin. And this picture folder is going to be where all of our pictures are located. So I'll go over that. And that means we have our picture for our items. We have pictures for our add-ins. And we have pictures for a bunch of things. So that's going to be all located, and you have to have that folder there so we can map that. Print area is automated. Size range here, the size range is basically small, medium, large is just the size here for the shop items. Tax option is based on the unit. Is it a yes or no? Are we charging taxes? It's simply a yes or no. And we have the tax rate. Lastly, what is the rate of that tax? Okay, very good. So that's all we have to do. That's all we have to do for our named ranges. Let's start filling some of these in. First of all, I want to know what row is associated with this search order. So I'm going to do equals if error, and I want to run a match. And it's going to be match. What am I looking for? I'm looking for whatever the user has entered in this search order right in R3. And I'm looking up based on the order ID. So I'm going to type in order ID. I want an exact match. So I'm going to do comma 0. And I want to know the rows associated. So I'm adding 3 because the first one starts on row 4. If there's an error, I'm going to show empty, and that's going to tell me that that order number 1 is on row 4. So if I look here and I see that order number 1, so that's good. I have that there. Perfect. Okay, I want to know the selected category. That's VBA is going to take care of that for us, so we know what category has been selected. So we can put anything. VBA will take care of that. There's no formula. The selected order number. Let's say we have selected, that's going to be our selected order number. We can put that here. That's going to be automated. And then I also want to know what is the database row for the selected order. So this is the order that's been selected, the order that's being displayed here. What is the database row? It's going to be exactly the same with this formula, except it's going to be based on a different order item. So instead of R3, it's based here directly on B3. So we're going to select B3. So it's going to be the same. So we know if we change this to 2, it's going to change to 5. I want to know the next order ID equals if error. We use a max formula for that. It's going to be based on the order IDs, all the order IDs as long as they're numerical. I need to know the next available one. So we're going to ask +1, add that in there. If there's an error, that means there's probably no data. So we're going to set the default to 1. Okay, so I also want to know the selected item IDs. If we take a look inside the shop items, we've got a bunch of IDs associated with that. I want to know the row that's associated with that. So I want to put in that ID. VBA is going to take care of putting the ID when I select the item. VBA is going to put in that number right here. However, formula is going to tell us what row it's on. So if we do equals again, if error, always if error, we're going to use the match formula. And what are we matching? I'm matching this value, but this time we're looking basically in the item ID. So item ID, and we also want an exact match on that. And then we're also going to be adding 3 because they also start in row 4. If there's an error, we're just going to show empty. Okay, I want to know the selected item type. VBA will take care of that. VBA will take care of the drink type, so it's going to add in those. So it's going to be maybe drink or whatever. And I want to know the selected size. So that's going to be either small, medium, or large. VBA will also take care of adding these things in. Selected item price. What is the price? Well, how do we know that? We'll use a formula for that, and we're going to type that in right now. First of all, it's going to be equals if error in case there's any error. What I want to do is I want to know if it's a drink type. If it's a drink type, we got to use the columns based on small, medium, or large. So if here B8 equals drink, then we need to price it out based on, I need to show the price based on whatever column it is. So how do we do that? We're going to use an index. Remember, we're indexing. We got the item price. That's the one with those 3 columns. Item price is here. So what column are we going to use? First of all, we need to determine what row we're going to use. So we're going to use a match based on that. But we already have it. We've already got that match from it. We already know it's right here inside B7, so we can add that in. It's located right here, so we've got that. Okay, so next up, but I want to subtract 3 off that because we know that we've already added 3 for that database row. We're going to subtract 3 for that because we were going to using the index. Okay, but now we know what column is it, right? There's 3 columns, small, medium, and large. How do we know what column it is? To determine the column, we're going to run a match. And we also have a value. What are we looking up? I'm looking up whatever's located in that drink size right here. And I'm looking it up. What is the match array? We're going to look it up size range. Remember we saw that? Size range. I'll go over, that was kind of quick. I'm going to go over this range, size range for you one more time. But we're going to finish that out and we need an exact match. So that's going to give us the column. So once we have that, okay, we can just close a parenthesis. So we know that that's going to set the column. Okay, great. So let's go over that again. We're indexing the item prices. The row is going to be based on B7 minus 3. The column is going to be based on the selected size, small, medium, or large, based on the size range. This size range is simply 3 items in this range: small, medium, and large. Small will return 1, medium will return 2, and large will return 3. Okay, but what if it's not a drink? What if it's false? If it's not a drink, I want to just return the first column. So we can do this. Index the item prices. The row number is simply going to be where it was in B7 minus 3. And then all we do is we have the column 1. Remember, that means, I'll show you that one more time. And then if there's an error, we're just going to show empty. So what does that mean? So let's just take a look at one more thing, shop items. Let's take a look here, small, medium, large. See this? It's called size range, these 3 fields. So if it's a small, it's going to return 1. If it's a medium, it's going to return 2. So that's going to tell us the column 1, column 2, column 3, because we have that price. And if it's not a drink, we're only going to return column 1. Take a quick look at that. If it's not a drink here, that means it's false. This is not a drink. It's only going to return column 1. Okay, great. So that's going to return the price. So if we take a look at selected item 1, we know it's in row 4. We know it's a drink. It's hot, and the small is $2.59. So let's take a look inside the shop items. We see item 1. The small is $2.59. The medium is $3.11, and the large is $3.73. So if we take a look back on here, if I change this to medium, that price is going to change to $3.11. I change it to large, the price is going to change to $3.73. So now we know all we have to do is change this using VBA, and we know the correct price. Okay, very good. I also want to know the selected item row. That's going to be here, whatever. The VBA will take care of that. Okay, we also want to know the add-in type, right? What kind of add-in type is it? And I want to know the row that's associated. So let's say we have an ID of 3, the add-in. Remember, our add-ins have their own unique IDs. We know that 3 is on row 6. So if we go back here, we need a formula for that. Very similar. Equals if error, always an if error, matching. This time we're matching whatever's located right here. And we're looking at the add-in IDs here. We want an exact match. Again, we're adding 3. They always start on row 4. And if there's an error, we'll show nothing. Okay, so we know that add-in is on selected add-in price. So we see that it's on row 6. What is the price of that? Now the price we see have a specific column. If we went over that, so equals, again, if error, we're going to use index, and this time we want the add-in price. We're indexing the add-in price. What is the row number? The row number is here. We're going to use minus 3 because I want the right price. Then the column is 1. And then if there's an error, we'll show empty. Okay, so that's going to get us a price. So we know that add-in ID number 3 is 50 cents. If we take a look at ID number 3, we see that it's 50 cents, and that's exactly what we want. If I change this to 65 cents, we want to make sure, whoops, not $65, 0.65. We want to make sure that that gets automatically reflected in here so we know that it's correct. Okay, very good. Now the tax string is something that we're going to be using on the receipt, and I want to know what's the string of that. So let's take a quick look, a reminder inside the admin. We have something called tax option. This is a named range called tax option. It's either yes or it's no. And I also have the rate, the tax rate. So what I want to do is I want to combine those. If this is yes, if it's no, show nothing. If it's yes, then we are going to show the tax and the rate. So the formula will look something like this. Equals, if the tax option equals no, then what are we going to show? Nothing. Then I don't want to show any. Then show nothing. Otherwise, what I'd like to show is tax, parentheses here, and I want to show, but I really want to show the tax rate, right? So the tax and what is the tax rate? So we can put in, but I want to format that accordingly. So I'm going to use text for that to do that. And then what do I want to format? The tax rate. I'll put that in. And then I want to put in that actual tax rate. So we're going to do number here. Then I'm going to do period, number, and then we're going to do the percentage. So that's the format that I want to set for that. And then I want to close parentheses. So then and the close parentheses. That's going to be our format. Okay, so let's take a look at that. That's going to say tax 8.5%. That's what I want. So this is what I want to appear on the receipt. I also want to know the total paid, and that's going to be simply formatted because we have that formatted. So here we're going to put equals text, and I'll explain why it's not being formatted. Total paid here, but then what we're going to do is we're just going to set a unique format, and we're going to do quotation mark here. We're going to do the $ here, and you can use any currency you want. I'll do the number, then we'll do comma, number, and then 0.00. So that's going to be the format that we're using, and then close the parentheses. Okay, so that's going to be, so that means when this changes to, let's say 34, 35, whatever, it's going to format this. This is what I want to use inside. Okay, the order date and time, this is going to be automated by VBA. Okay, so that's it for all the formulas that we really need. We'll do a few down here. I've got subtotal here. Obviously, if the subtotal, we need a formula here. So that's going to be equals sum. It's simply whatever's in this column right here. Our prices are always going to be in the same column, so we can use a large number. So it's going to be whatever's here. Okay, so now that means if we have prices here, and okay, we have that here. So total, our tax is going to be what? Again, we need a formula for that. So equals if, we'll just put if the tax option equals no, then what do we want to put? Then either 0 or empty is fine. So then we're just going to put no. Empty, well, otherwise, what do we want to do? I simply want to multiply the tax rate. So the tax rate times what? The subtotal is going to give us our total tax, and that subtotal is located right here. Okay, so that's all we have to do to get that tax on that. So we see that the tax is 56 cents. And of course, the order total is simply equal to the sum of the subtotal plus the tax, and that's going to give us our total. Okay, very good. So the payment type, that can be whatever. Our change is simply going to be the total paid minus the order total. So if they paid $10 here, the change is simply going to be equals 10 minus the order total. Okay, very good. So I like that. We're going to save our work so far. Now what we want to do is we want to start creating some of the shapes that we have for our items and our categories. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert. In fact, I got one formatted already on the other screen. I'm just going to copy that, and because it's already formatted, it's so easy, right? Let's just bring it. Okay, so this is already formatted, and it's called item sample. Basically, it's just a little bit faster. It's the same thing as here. If I were to enter this and format it all, that's all it is, and give it a name. So it's just a rounded corner rectangle, except this one's formatted just the way I like it, and it's the sample item. Okay, so it is this one that we're going to create all of our shapes from. So it's going to help us out. Okay, the first thing we want to do is create those categories. I'm just going to duplicate this one, and I'm going to place it directly up here, just right about here. And I want to add in those categories. So I want to update the font for this size. It should be a little bigger. Let's put about 18 on this one. And I'm going to put the word coffee in here because that's our first one. So coffee. I want to give it a unique name. This name is going to be called category back coffee, category back, and then underscore coffee. And this is very important because when I select it, I need to know which one. If I remove category back, I know what's left is coffee, and I can place that in here. Okay, so we know that. So what I'm going to do now is then just simply duplicate that and add more of them. We'll give it a size. I think I'll hold down the control. I'm going to do 1 inch on the height and about 1.7 on the width. And we're also going to add icons. We want those icons to be added after we do the buttons. So I'm going to then bring this up to make sure that we fit everything in here. This one is going to be called T. It's going to be the same thing. I'm just going to hold down the control. I'm going to duplicate both of those, and then I'm going to do the same thing one more time. Okay, so holding down the control, making sure that everything gets lined up. We're going to line them up here, and then we're going to make sure that they are centered, which looks good. Now that we have our main category shapes, we can then go ahead and name them. So we have coffee, tea. We're also going to have juice. I like a good fresh juice, so we're going to make sure our coffee shop has that. Aside from juice, we must also have smoothies, especially in the heat. It's very nice. And bakery. What I would do with bakery, I would have it every day if I could. Okay, bakery. And lastly, we want some roasted beans because nothing is more important than coffee in the morning. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for coffee this morning. Okay, so we have roasted beans. Now, why don't we put our icons for these 6 categories? So what we're going to do is we're going to insert pictures and this device, and I've got them saved up here. Of course, if you want all these icons, all the pictures, everything, I've got that available on our Patreon platform. So we have all of that available to you. Tea, coffee, beans, we have juices, and smoothies here. So we're going to have those 6, and we're going to insert those. And then I'm going to size them. They're going to have slightly different sizes, but we can start out with a height of something like 0.55. So that'll be a good start, and then we'll hide. Obviously, the bread one's not going to be that big, but that's a good start. For our juice, we're going to put that here. For our coffee, we're going to put that right here. Coffee beans, the roasted beans are going to be here. Our tea will go here. That looks pretty good. And our smoothie here. The bread's a little bit too big, so we'll I'm on a diet, so we need to make the bread a little bit smaller. Okay, so now we're going to center everything. And then we'll just center that here. That looks pretty good. Make sure those shapes, I think they are already centered here. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is we can group them and name them or do it twice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the control. I'm going to group them, and I'm going to do the same for the rest. Okay, now that they're all grouped, what I'd like to do is I want to give them very distinct names, and that's super important. We see this background. Not necessarily the group is important, but more the shapes within the groups, because it is the shapes within the groups that are going to call the macros. So that's the most important. Notice this says category back coffee. So basically each one of those is going to have something called category back and then the name. So I'm going to do that right now. Change this to tea here, and then I'm going to do the rest and get right back to you. Okay, now that we've got everything named, now we want to make sure that the names that we've assigned, so it's basically category back and then something like roasted beans. That name is very, very consistent with our names of our shop items. So they must be consistent with these categories here. Notice that they're exactly the same. So we want to make sure it's very consistent with that. No spelling differences, because this is what we're going to be used inside our particular criteria advanced filter. Okay, so now that we have that set up, we also need to change the icons. Okay, so our category is going to go here. So basically it's going to be like coffee. So what we want to do through VBA is to make sure that when we select something, the category goes here. But what if they select the icon too? If they select the icon, I need to make sure that the word coffee also goes here. So whether they select the shape or the icon, I want to make sure the word coffee goes here. That's going to be our advanced filter. So we have to give that a very distinct name as well. So we're going to give it the name of, I'm going to call it category icon in coffee. So just as where this is category back in coffee, we're going to call this category icon. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to call this category icon. Notice that category back and category icon both have the same number of characters. Very, very important, because when I eliminate these number of characters, it's left with whatever category. So very important. The same thing here. So category icon, same number of characters, category back. So that's very important. Okay, now I'm going to do the rest with the rest of the icons. So it's going to be called category. Let's escape out of there. I want to copy this. It's going to be called category icon. And we're going to name the rest, whatever the rest is. So I'm going to copy this here. And now I'm going to do the rest. Okay, so now that's all done. So we each have our, if we take a look in our groups, we look at our selection pane here, just to make sure we have group 40. That doesn't necessarily, the group name doesn't necessarily matter, but we want to make sure we have category icon, category back tea, category icon smoothie. Oops, this one's wrong here. So we need to make sure that the back of this one says smoothie. So I'm going to change that up there. I want to make sure it's smoothie. So that's a good way of double checking to make sure that everything's consistent. Roasted beans here. We can bring this out a little bit to make sure. Coffee, this one's also wrong, so I need to update that to juice. You can also change it within here, which is kind of a nice feature. It's a great way to show it. Okay, great. So coffee, and then we'll change this to bakery. Okay, so everything's consistent now, and now that's really going to help us inside the macro, because all we need to do is eliminate the first number of characters, take whatever's remaining, and place it directly inside here in B2. And that's going to be the first macro, right? Because that macro is going to then duplicate this sample, and then generate those food or drink items in columns E and F. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. We've got a few more buttons to create on this right side. So we've got our shapes here. Then we've got information here. I want to show our item and our sizes. So our sizes are going to go up here. So I'm going to put here sizes. This is where I want the sizes of those drinks to show up. And I also want to put information for add-ins, right? So where's our add-ins are going to go? Our add-ins are going to go right in here. So we're going to put add-ins. And that's for basically our add-ins are going to be different for coffee as they will be for juice or bakery or something like that. So we can have different add-ins. Okay, next up, I want to put the item. What is the item that we're selected? That item name must go right about here. So inside H10, we're going to go ahead and put that item. I want to put item, colon, and then I want whatever that item is, let's say green tea or whatever is going to go right here. So that's VBA is going to place it there. Next up, I want the size. What is the selected size? We're going to put that here. And lastly, I want to know what that price is. So the price will go directly inside K. So we're going to put the price. Okay, so perfect. So that's going to happen. We'll take some borders. Add-ins are going to go right here. So we have all the add-ins. Now with the add-ins, we want individual shapes. No, add, light, and extra. So we're going to create that. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to bring it over here, and this is going to be for our no. So we're going to add this shape. I'll just put it in capital letters no, but I want it centered and I want it much smaller. And we'll make this about 0.35, and then we'll do 0.6 on that. So, okay, so that's good. And I'm going to center the text here, and we're going to give it a very specific name. It's going to be called add-in type 1. So add-in, let's do that, add-in type 1. Now all we need to do is just duplicate that for each additional one. So we have add in type 1. I'm going to duplicate that. This is going to be for add. So we'll control D. This one will be used for add. I'm going to place it right here. And this is going to be for items that we want to add if we want to add additional ones. And this is going to be called add in type 2. As you can imagine, I've got 2 more to do. The next one, again, I'm going to get out of here, duplicate this one. It's going to be for light. If they want light sugar, light cream, or something like that, we can put in that light. And likewise, this will be add-in type 3. And then lastly, I'll duplicate it, and that's going to be used for extra. So we're going to put this one as extra. Okay, I like that. That looks good. No, add, light, and extra. Going to be putting that in. Okay, so let's make this a little bit smaller case because it's the text of this that we can do inside that. So I'm going to actually make this lowercase. And then lastly, just make sure this is add-in type 4. Okay, so I have 4 distinct names for our add-ins. We can space them out accordingly here, and we can add some borders. So I'm just going to line them up, holding down the control, lining them up, and then spacing them horizontally together. Okay, so that looks good. We can also group them together. Control F1 when we do group them, and then we can go into the properties, and we want to make sure that we move but don't size with the cells. Okay, so now that we have that, I want to put whatever our categories here, I want to put up to 6. We're going to VBA create that, so we don't have to worry about that just yet. We're going to add in additional buttons here and additional icons here. So we've got our information here. We don't need this additional. We can use it actually. So I'm going to put in here an icon for dining in. So we're going to put this all in capital letters, dining in. And then I'm going to bring this over here, give it a distinct size and font. All right, we're going to make that bold, just the way we like it. There's enough room for an icon there. We'll check the size on that. I want to make sure that it's got a sufficient size. So we'll go, because they're all going to be the same size. So we'll change that to a little bit bigger, 1.65 is sufficient. And then because we want it to cover the entire thing, and then we'll go ahead and center that. And as long as we have enough room for that icon, what we can do is if you want a little additional space, you can set either the margins, or you can also justify the text a little bit there to save room for that icon. Okay, so that looks good. So we got one for dining in. I need another one for takeaway. So I'm going to duplicate that using this, Control D, and then we're just simply going to write in take away. So when we click it, it's going to change the text here. So we have that. Okay, so now that we've got takeaway, I also want to duplicate 2 more, both of these. We're going to create 2 additional buttons. And they're just going to go down here. These are going to be used for print order and next order. So I'll change the text here to print order and then next order, and I'll adjust the margins on those next order. Okay, so we're going to go down here holding down the control, and with the right margin we'll put around 0.06 or something like that. That's good. I like that. All right, very good. So we've got that. Now what we want to do is I want to create both the payment types and I want to create the number pad here with the space that we have left. So we want to make sure that we've got enough space. So this is going to go pretty much all the way down to the bottom here. And then we're going to have our number pad and our payment types here. So let's do those payment types. I want to separate it into 3. So I know if this is about 1.6, each one's going to have to be about 0.5. So I'm going to duplicate that. And then the width is going to change to about 0.5 because I need to put 3 within the same row for our payment types, as I have 3 different payment types. There's no text that's needed on this button, so we can just get rid of the text here, Control A, and delete here. That's going to be an icon. So what do we want to put there? What kind of icon? I want to put that as cash. So we're going to name that. It's going to be called cash. Okay, cash. Perfect. And then I'm going to duplicate that, and we're going to place it right here. This one is going to be called credit card. So credit card. And lastly, another duplicating it, and this one is going to be gift card. Gift card. Now notice that those are the same payment types that we have set up inside the admin screen right here. Oops, we don't have those. We're just going to put those. We don't necessarily need to have them, but they'll be in a drop-down list. So it's going to be the same. We could have a drop-down list here, but generally I have this one click is going to do it. So we're going to give the icons a name. I guess we don't need to have that. Probably not that important for those. Okay, so we've lined those up nicely. Want to make sure that everything's got the same distance, equal distance. And now what I would like to do is have the number pad. So remember, we want to do our buttons first, then our icons second. So now I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to drop it right down here, except for the number pad, I want them equal, square. So we're going to make the height 0.5. Okay, inside that, this is going to be our 1. So we're going to put the 1 here. And we can just call it, let's just say number 1, giving it a distinct name. Nice, important. And then I'm going to give it that 1. So I'm just going to put a 1 in here. And that particular font, we're going to have to increase that. We're going to center both of them. I'm going to remove all the margins on here because it's going to be centered both vertically and horizontally, so we don't need anything. Then that 1 here, let's put that 1 in here. Okay, so now we have it. Want to make sure that it is centered, and it's not yet, so we're going to center that. Oh, I think we also have it inside that with that particular text. We have that text, these particular alignments, the indent, so we can get rid of the indent, increase the font, selecting out of it, selecting back into it, making sure we have no spaces around that. It looks good. So now we're just going to increase it to a size that's manageable for us so we can see all the numbers very clearly. Okay, that looks really good. And now all we need to do is duplicate that and create all. So I'm going to duplicate that for each number and I'll be right back. Okay, so now all the buttons are there, and now all we have, and we've also got the names. I've also changed the name, number 1, and I also have one for a decimal point and one for the clear. So our keypad's done. Now what we want to do is just line them up accordingly, and then what we'll do is we're going to group them all independently. We want to make sure that they are grouped. Once we have everything lined up, I'd like to group them. That's very important so we can group them together. We're going to group, and always when we group, we want to make sure that we also take into consideration that we're not moving the sizing. So with that entire group here, selecting on that group, going into the shape options and into the properties here and move but don't size. All right, very good. We're just about done with this portion. We're just going to add the icons now. Okay, things are looking good. We can bring this up a little bit here, and then we're going to line everything up. Now that we've grouped it, we can just line everything up to make sure it's looking properly. We use our selection, and then I'm just going to line everything up to make sure it's perfectly centered above it. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And now what we're doing, oops, let's get this one in too. I want to make sure we do them all. And now what we want to do is we want to add our icons. Buttons first, then the icons go on top. So we're going to add, we have to have icons for our dining in, takeaway, our location, our payment types, print order, next order. We need to add those icons in. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to insert pictures here, this device, and we want to make sure that we're going to add in the rest. So we need cash. We certainly need our credit card. We need our other payment type, which is a gift card. We also need our print here, or our takeaway, our dining in here. And I think that is good. So we're going to insert those. And then we're going to set the size on everything we've inserted. So we're going to set it to about 0.5. I know you can't quite see them now, but they're down here. Here they are there. Okay, so now we've set everything up. So 0.5 is a little bit too big. So we'll go to 0.25 on that, about half the size. Okay, very good. Scrolling over here, now we can place those accordingly. We have our cash here. We're going to size them. Our credit card here, and lastly, our gift card here. These ones, this one looks good here, the gift card, but I want to size these up a little bit more, making those widths a little bit higher. So 0.35 on those. That looks pretty good. Okay, so we're going to line everything up, holding it on selection, lining those up. And then what we'll do is we'll center them within within the particular shapes that we have. And now we want to make sure that those icons are also named exactly the same. Very, very important. So to do that, if we're giving them the same name, it's kind of hard. If we try to rename it here, it's going to revert back to, if I give it the same name, cash, it's going to revert directly back to the shape that's named that. So we don't want to do that. So what we want to do is we want to go into the selection pane here and we'll select on the icon. We'll regroup these and then we can rename it from here. So this, here we go. This we can call, we can change the name here, no problem. I'm gonna do the same thing for the credit card, this picture, and then we're gonna regroup them. Credit card, good. And then lastly, we have the gift card. So using our selection pane, it's much easier to rename. So we're gonna call this gift card. Okay, very good. So I like the way that that looks. Let's go ahead and ungroup. If you want to regroup something, you ungroup, holding down the control, and I'm going to select on those individual icons to regroup them. And then we're just going to, again, regroup them using our regroup. And then we can give it a name if we want to, but more importantly, we want to make sure that we're not moving in sizing here, we're changing that. Okay, very good. It looks very good. We've got our icons. Now let's add the rest of our dining in icons. Going to go here. We can make that a little bit bigger here. Our takeaway, we're going to show the bag here. And we have our print, and we also need a next order icon. So let me add that in. Our next order insert is going to be the last icon that we have to do. So just going to insert, this is the one that I forgot. Okay, so we're going to add that. It's a bit big, as you can see. Bringing that down. Lastly, all we have to do, so we've pretty much got all of our buttons set up here. Now all we just need to do is make sure that we have everything grouped accordingly. Then we can write some macros, and we're going to go step by step in these macros. I'll be writing them with you so you don't have to worry. Again, aligning, grouping them individually. I'm going to do the same thing here, aligning them vertically, and then making sure that they're grouped accordingly. Okay, so that's looking really good. We have our order summary here. We're going to add in some shapes. This group can take on a shape. So now we're going to add a little bit of a rectangular shape with no fill on that. So I'm going to change that here. I want that to encompass here so that it's grouped together. Kind of gives it a nice style here. So, and of course, we're going to use the same here, no fill on this. And actually, let's change the outline to that brown consistent icon, no fill on that. And that's exactly what I want so that I can see that everything's brought into, gives it a nice style and groups everything together. We can bring this down. I'm going to also group these together. All the buttons should be grouped together so that they move directly with each other always, and then group them. Okay, so I can bring these buttons down a little bit, and everything's looking really good, separating those. All right, I like the way that that looks. It's very consistent with our theme, and it's looking really good. So we've got that set up. We're going to save our work so far. And now what we want to do is I want to bring this in. I'm going to use this shape here. I'm going to Control D, and I want to use 1 for our size. So our size is also going to encompass that. Going to bring that right about something like here. We can adjust it in just a bit, but basically it's going to be that. Now I want the same thing for the item information. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate this, and I'm going to want for the item information. That selected item information is going to be right here. So we're going to bring that up. And then lastly, I want another one for the add-ins. So the add-ins are going to be grouped independently as well, and we're going to bring it down here. Okay, so we're going to hold down the control. We'll adjust the width on these to make sure that they all have the same width. And then shape format, we'll set the width to about 3. So we're going to go in the shape format here and just set the width to 3. Okay, very, very good. Bringing it over. I want that centered. So now we have enough space for our add-ins. We've got enough space for our sizes here. And we also have space for our add-ins. Okay, looking good. I'm going to adjust. As you can see, that based on the size, these rounded corners do adjust. So we'd like them a little bit consistent with each other. I want individual shapes for the sizes. So I can do that here. I'm just going to copy this. I'm not going to duplicate it using Control D. I'm going to copy and paste. If I duplicate it, it's going to remain in the same group, and I really don't want that. So I want something for our 3 sizes, and I want 3 unique sizes. We don't need any text on these buttons, but I do want specific names, and I want to put the sizes directly in here. I'm going to drop this down here. Going to 0.85, and then we'll do 0.9 on the width, 0.9. Okay, and I also want to call this back size small. So it's going to be called back size and then underscore small. I'm going to duplicate that, and all we need to do is just change the information and then one more duplication so we have all 3 for large. And let's bring those in a little bit over here. Okay, so that looks pretty good. We can probably reduce the width a little bit to 0.87. Okay, very good. So that's going to squeeze them all in. We will update that, and then I want to make sure that they're all inside here. And then we want to space them horizontally accordingly. Okay, that looks good. So now I'm going to update the names. This is not going to be small. This is going to be called medium. And we're going to have to color these accordingly. Whichever selected one, I want it colored. So that's going to be important. And then lastly, we want to put in large. Okay, so we have all the shapes. It is VBA that will change these, and VBA will also add in the picture, so we don't have to worry about that. We've got everything covered just the way we want it. All right, so now what we have here is we've got the primary screen pretty much set up. A lot of everything else is going to be controlled by VBA. We can make some minor adjustments. But so basically, we're going to start out when I select coffee, I want in columns E and F all of the items associated with coffee. And so basically what we have to do is the first step is when I select this, I want to put the word coffee and I want to put it directly into B2. And what's going to happen is we're going to run an advanced filter of all of our shop items. And I only want to return those with the coffee. So we're going to put coffee right here. Then we're going to have the results are going to come here. Only those coffee items will appear here. We're then going to loop through those. If there's a picture associated with it, a name, what I want to do is combine this picture name with whatever folder is in here. This is a named range called picture folder. So if I combine those two, it's going to create that full file path to that picture. Where is that picture? And they're located right here in my folder. So all of them are located right here. So what I want to do is extract that and I want to put it into a shape and I want to have it appear right here in two different columns. Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to do inside the VBA. So the first thing we want to do is write a macro that's going to select that category. And then I want to tie that same macro to all of these pictures. So let's go into VBA and give it a start. And if you're new to VBA, don't worry, just follow along. You're also welcome to watch this as many times as you want. If things move a little bit quick, you can feel free to slow down the video or watch it again as many times as you want. Okay, so inside the developer, if you don't have the developer tab available, we're going to go into the options here, and we're going to make sure we go into the customize ribbon and then select it from here. It is not necessary because you can also press Alt F11 to get you into the Visual Basic. And you can see I've got two workbooks open. One has lots of code. We're going to minimize that. The workbook that we're going to be working on is right here called Orders and Screen Macros. So I've got the names of macros, but I don't have the macros written. And I just have some inside the modules. I just have some variables. So it's going to make things go a little bit faster as it is already an extra long training. So the first macro we're going to write is called Category Select. And this macro is going to be tied to those shapes. When I select those shapes, what I explained to you, that advanced filter is what's going to happen. So we're going to write that right now. We'll bring this down so we can get a good look at both the screen and the module at the same time. So inside this, we're going to focus primarily on, want to set that category name. The name of that category, if they select here, it's the name of the category is going to be coffee. If they select the icon, it's the same thing. So how do I extract the name coffee when they select here? Well, the shape name is called application caller. That's the name of the shape when you select something. So if I get rid of the first so many characters, then and I leave the word coffee, that's going to get it. So we can do that in one line of code. We're going to call this category name. That is a string variable that I've already defined right here, category name. So category name is equal to, we're going to say use the replace because I have to remove some characters in order to extract that category name. Application.caller. That is the name of the shape that called it, whether it's the icon or the background shape. Now what we're going to be doing is I want just to extract the left portion of that, right? I only want the name of the category. I want to get rid of everything else. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to take the application, the name application caller, and we are going to remove the first 13 characters. So whether it is the icon or the background, the first 13 characters we're going to remove. We're going to replace it, but I'm going to replace it with nothing. And when I replace it with nothing, that leaves the category name. So what am I going to do with that category name? I'm going to put that directly inside B2. So we're going to do the coffee POS. That's the name of the sheet. That's, of course, the code name of the sheet, coffee POS. Range B2. That's what's going to take on that category name. Dot value equals category name. So once I have it here, this category name is also linked to my criteria and my shop items. Here's our category. It's linked to coffee B2. So now all I need to do is run an advanced filter, have the criteria come here, and then the results are going to come here. So only those with coffee. So that's exactly what we're going to do now. And we're going to run an advanced filter. But before we do that, what I want to do is we're going to have a lot of shapes here, right? So if I select another shape, I want all of these shapes removed and then added again. So basically every time we select another category, all of those item shapes and icons and pictures get removed and then they get replaced. So what I need is some code that's going to remove everything first. So what we can do is for each item shape. Now item shape already has been dimensioned as a shape. So we're going to do for each shape. We're going to look in every single shape in coffee POS dot shapes. And we have that IntelliSense show up. We know we've got the right sheet code name. So for each one, we're going to close our loop. Next item shape. So we're going to do something inside. So if in string, I'm going to check on the name, item shape dot name. We're going to look if the name contains category back. And what I want to do is I also want to fill it. So we also want to not only remove it, but we want to fill it. So let's focus on the fill first. So that means basically when I select something, I want that color to go to that dark brown color. Let me just show you in the sample here what we're looking at. Here's the sample, right? So what we're trying to achieve is we want this color, the selected color, to go to brown and the rest to go back to that light brown. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing what we do is we take all the category backs and we change them to light brown. Then we determine the selected one and we make that darker brown. So that's the goal of what we're trying to achieve, as you can see from the sample. Okay, so first thing we want to do is color all of them back to this light brown. Now, how do we know what that light brown color is? Well, we can use the RGB color. If you don't know what it is, just go into the home. If you look in the shape fill here, shape fill, and then we go to more fill colors, we can see what it is. So we know the current fill color is 244, 235, 225, and it's got a hex of this. So we know the RGB colors. So that's what I want to do. I want to color them all to back that light brown, and then I want to give it a darker brown color. So what is that darker brown color that I want to give it? So we're going to go into the shape format. I have this color saved, shape fill. So basically I want to give it this color. So how do I know that color RGB? Again, same thing, shape fill, more fill colors here. Look at the RGB. So basically you can just write down these RGB colors and then just duplicate that within VBA. And that's exactly what we're going to do. But the first step is always, we don't know which one had the previously colored brown. We don't know which category we selected previously. So all we need to do is loop through all the category shapes and color them back to the basic color. So that's exactly what we're going to do right here. Category back. So only those. If it's greater than 0, so that means only those shapes with the words category back. That's why naming your shapes is critical to developing these applications. Then what are we going to do? It's greater than 0, then that means only those shapes that contain the word category back. In fact, you can add an underscore onto that to make it more specific. Then what do you want to do is item shape dot fill dot forecolor dot RGB. And what is that RGB? It is 244 is that light brown color, 235, and then lastly 225. That is that light brown color that we want to give it. So that's the fill color that we want to do. So RGB equals, I need to do equals, and then RGB. Okay, so that's going to set light brown color for all categories. Okay, so for every single one. Now what we want to do is we want to color the selected one. Well, how do we know what the selected color is? So it's relatively simple. So we're going to do coffee, POS, dot shapes, and we know it starts with category back, right? Category back, we know that. And what is it also? It also with the category name and category name. There it is, dot fill, dot forecolor, dot RGB, equals RGB, and now it's that dark brown color that we're going to give it, that selected color, 218, 188, 154. Okay, so that's the color that's that dark brown color that we're going to use. So this is going to be called the selected brown color. So that's it. So that's all we're going to do. Okay, great. So why don't we just test this out? We're going to save it just to test this out to make sure that we have everything that so when I make it, so now all we need to do is hold down the control, or we can use our selection. It is that same macro that we're going to assign to everything. So I'm going to right click, and then we're going to use this workbook only. I want to focus on this workbook. And this is called category select. So I'm going to click OK. So now all we want this to do is put the category name in B2 and then change the color. So as we can see, they're not all colored. So let's go ahead and update that. Oh, since we grouped them, we need to make sure we ungroup them, right? Now we've grouped them. If we're going to group them, we need to call out, if we're going to use the group item, we need to call out the group, then the item within the group. But if we ungroup it, then we can call them both out. That's fine. We don't necessarily need them grouped. I just want to make sure that they're spread accordingly, vertically, and then we can ungroup them. Okay, so now it's going to work fine as we ungroup them, right? Perfect. That's exactly what we want. Okay. So now whether we select on the icon itself or whether we select on the shape itself, it's going to have the same result. Perfect. Okay. So we see that the name is changing here, and we see that those results are going to change right here. So now we have the category. So now we can write the rest of the macro. It's going to run that advanced filter in the shop items. So we can go down here. I'm going to focus on those shop items now. So we're going to then run a macro to load the items. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing what I want to do is I want to take this, loading those items, I'm going to put it directly in here. So run macro to load items. Once we have that, we're going to focus on loading those items, and it's going to go right here. The first thing I want to do is I want to clear all of the existing items. This is what I was talking about before. Clear all the existing, clear all existing items within the screen. For each item shape, you're going to use that item shape in coffee POS.shapes. Again, close our loop, next item shape. Once we have that, what I want to do is I want to look for very specific shapes. So what shapes are those? I want to look for two shapes, one called shop item and one called item picture. Inside here, we're going to clear everything out of these two columns. Anything that has the name shop item and anything that has the name item picture. So both of those we're going to check for. So here inside the module, we're going to say if in string, again, checking for in string, item shape dot name, and it contains shop item. So that means that the name contains the text shop item is greater than 0, then we're going to delete it. Then item shape dot delete. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the background. So the shop item background's going to be named that, and the item PICT, and again, they have the same number of characters. Very important here. We're going to delete that, so I'm deleting. Now, when we have two of these in the same loop, we want to make sure to wrap it in on air resume next, and on air go to 0, because if it deletes one, it won't find it for the other. So that means if it's deleted here, it's going to show an error right here. So if we do on air go to 0 and on air resume next, that'll cover that. I won't create any issues with that. Okay, so that's going to remove all the existing shapes on the coffee POS. Now what we want to do is run our loop to make sure that we also, in the shop items, and run that advanced filter. Before we do that, I want to clear out a few other things. B10, if we take a look at B10, I want the selected size, I want to clear that out, whatever that. And I also want to clear out B12. Whatever the selected item row is, I want to clear that out. So B10 and B12 should also be cleared out. So we're going to do that. We're going to add in the sheet name, coffee, POS, dot range, B10, B12, dot clear contents. Clear, we'll just put a note, clear out selected row, item row, and the size. Okay, so now that we have that, we can focus on the shop items. Now we're going to run that advanced filter, shop items it's called. And I always add that, you see I add it real quick. I just want to make sure IntelliSense pops up. If I have the sheet name wrong and I put a period, nothing will show up. But if I have it right, it's going to show up. That means it confirms that I've got the right code name for the sheet name. Okay, we're going to do the last row. The last row is equal to A and XLF. I use auto hotkey to automate that. So last row. If the last row is less than 4, we can exit the sub out. We're going to run our advanced filter. Our advanced filter is going to be based on our criteria that we saw, and that criteria is going to be located. So let's update that. Then we're going to have, we'll update it in just a second. We're going to have the last results row. I need the last results row. And if the last results row is less than 3, we can exit the sub out because there are no items. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back inside our shop items. So we're going to update that. That range is going to go all the way from A through I. That's our regional data range. So we're going to change this to A3 through I. Our header rows are on I. Our criteria is going to be L2 through L3. So L2 through L3. And then we're going to copy that all the way for here. Here's the copy to range. It's going to be based on O through Q, O through Q. So we're going to change this to O through Q. Our last results row is going to be based on column O. So we're going to change that to O. We want to show the item ID, the item name, and the picture. So that's what I want in the results. Assuming that there are results, we can then continue on. So what do we want to do? I want to determine, I'm going to turn off application screen updating to make things a little bit faster. Application.screen updating equals false. And I want to make sure that before this macro ends, I turn it back on. So right in here, application.screen updating equals true. Now everything can be written in here. Okay, so once we're going to loop through the results of that. So we're going to determine the picture folder, that's a string variable here, equals, we already have a named range called full picture folder. Now notice that our named range, picture folder, is different than pic folder. I just want to make sure that the named range is different. Here's our named range. Here's our variable name. Make sure these are different. When these are exactly the same spelling, it creates a lot of issues. So this is our picture folder, where our pictures are stored in. I also want to set the original top position. Top position is a double variable. Here it is. Our left position, our top position are double variables. I also want to set the item height and the item width. Now we're going to set that initial. Where do we want that first one to show up? Right about here in E3. That's our initial top position. So we're going to set that initial top position. It's going to be based on the E3. So it's equal to, make sure we call out the sheet because we're in shop items. So we need to call out here our coffee POS dot range E3 dot top. What is the top position? Initial top position. I also need an initial left position. So the initial left position is going to be basically based on the left position of this. So I'm going to copy this, paste it down here. It's going to be the left position. So this is the initial left position. Okay, I got to spell initial properly. I rarely do. Okay, so now that we have those set, those are going to change as we build it up. Now what I want to do is I want to set that initial item, that item width. The item width is going to be based on the column E. So we can do something like equals coffee POS dot range E through, let's do E through E. I want to know the column width, just that single column. So I'm going to base it on that dot width. And then not the entire column, maybe -5. I don't want it that big. So set shape width. And now what I want to do is I want to set the height. So the item height is equal to, we're going to basically make it the item height. I have a number here, 94. That was kind of worked out. Okay, so 94. Set item height. Okay, great. So now that we have those, we're going to be able to follow those for each shape that we create. And now what we want to do is run our loop. So I'm going to run a loop here inside our results from 3 to the last results row. For each one, we are going to create a shape. We're going to give it this name, and we're going to use this picture. And importantly, we're going to import the ID. So that's very important. All right, so that's exactly what we're going to do inside the code. So we're going to run that loop for the result row equals 3 to last result row, and then closing our loop, next result row. Once inside our loop, what we want to do is we want to set the item ID. The item ID is going to be equal to, equal to, and again, if you're not sure you got the variables right, there's a few things you can do, right? You can remove it. So you see how the capital, if I put them some in capital letters, but I put them in small letters here, and then I go out of the line, you see how they automatically change to capitals? Then I know I got the named range probably right. Okay, so it's going to be equal to dot range. It's located in column O and the result row, O and the result row dot value. So that is our item ID. Now, once we have that, I want to just copy that, and we're going to use it to create our other variables. We also want to make sure that we have an item name. So the item name is equal to, let's do equals to, that's going to be located in column P. And then lastly, we have our picture. So that's the item name and our item picture. So we have our pic name, also a string variable, is equal to what's located in column Q. That's the name of the picture. So when we combine that with the folder, we get the full file path. So that's the item picture. Okay, so once we have that, we're all ready to go. We have all of our 3 variables that we assigned. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring inside the coffee, we're going to take this shape called sample item, and we're going to duplicate it. That's going to be the background. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So coffee POS dot shapes, this shape, pasting it in, dot duplicate, and I want to give it a very distinct name. What is that name going to be? Well, the name has to be unique per item. So it's going to be equal to shop item. Remember, that's the same name that we removed right here, shop item, and how are we going to make it unique? We're going to add that item ID. So, and the item ID. So that is going to be the new shape name. Then we can work with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that right here. We're going to focus on that. So with coffee POS dot shapes, that brand new shape that we just created, we're going to focus on some things. Let's close the parentheses on that. And then what we're going to do is, double quotes here, no need for that, and no need for that. Okay, so now moving in, what do we want to do? First of all, I want to set up the top position. That top position is going to be based on the top. So dot top equals top position. And of course, the left position is going to be the left position. But what is the left position? The left position is either here or here. If the row number is 3, so basically, let's put this, I'm going to take a look at this. The first one, which is row 3, is going to go on the left. The second one, which is row 4, is going to go on the right. So odd or even. So basically the odd ones, the odd rows are going to go on the left. The even rows are going to go on the right. So I can use that to position it in both columns. So let's take a look at how we might do that. We're going to use an if-then statement. If the result row 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, mod of 2 equals 0, meaning even, that's even, then let's put even rows second column, which is column F, right? Second, okay? And if, and then put an else in here. Okay, so this would be odd rows, first column. And put, just to make it very, very clear, column. This is going to be column E, and this is going to be column F. So very clear. Okay, all right, so what do we want to do inside column F? So I want to set the left position. So the left position is equal to coffee, POS, dot range, F, colon F, dot left. And then I don't want it exactly on the console, add about 5 pixels onto that. Okay, great. And now what we want to do, if we know it's the second column, what I want to do is I want to increment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we need to keep moving that top position down, 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 right? So after the second. So the top position, we're going to increment that. So the top position is equal to top position. We've already set the initial top position. So this is the second time. This is after. We've already set it, right? So this is for the next one. So the top position plus the item height plus 5. So basically, it's the height of the shape plus 5 equals the top position plus the item height plus 5. That's going to reset top position. Okay, very good. So what if it's inside the first column? If it's in the first column, all we need to do is set the left position is equal to, we could pretty much set it on the left position, right? We already have it. So left equals left position. Okay, we've already set the left position directly up here, so we could set based on column E, so that's fine. Okay, so set left position. Okay, so now that we have that, we also want to add in the width. So the width is going to be equal to the item width. We've already defined that. We already set the height. Dot height is equal to the item height. Okay, sometimes I like to use lowercase just to make sure I get the spelling right. And we also want to do, what's the text that's going to go inside that? So let's move this up a little bit, scroll up here. What is the text? It's going to be text frame 2 dot text range dot text is going to be equal to the item name, equal to the item name. So that's going to be the text, shape text. Okay, very, very good. And also one more thing, I want to add a macro to that. So it's going to be on action. It's going to be equal to, and it's going to be called item underscore select. I've got a macro, see right under here, called item select. That's the macro that we're going to build. When we select on it, we want something to happen. Macro to run when selected. Okay, so that's it for the back. So now what we want to do is we want to add in the picture. So we're good with this on this. Let's bring this in a little bit. Okay, I like that. So now we've built up the background shape, but what about the picture? We're going to focus on the picture now. We want to make sure that. So we're going to set the picture path first. What is that picture, that full picture path? Picture path is equal to picture folder and backslash and what else? Of course, it's going to be that item picture. So that picture name, full picture file path. I do want to make sure it is correct, that there's no issues. So if there is issues, we want to check if the directory of the picture path VB directory is equal to empty, or perhaps one of the other items, or the item picture is empty or something, or the picture name equals empty. Then what we want to do is go to no pick, and we want to skip all that down here, go no pick. So it's going to skip adding a picture if it doesn't exist. If it does exist and it is correct, we are going to then insert it. So we're going to do coffee POS dot pictures dot insert, and what is it we inserting? That picture path. Once we insert that, we want to give it a unique name. Name is going to be equal to the item picture, the very specific name, and the item ID. Okay, great. So once we've added it there, I'm going to work with that. So we're going to focus. We've already inserted it. So again, with coffee POS dot shapes, we're going to work with it. Okay, so what are we going to work with here? Oops, I did it again. Okay, so inside that, I want to size and position the picture as well. So we're going to add in the end with here, and we can work with that specific picture that we just added. The first thing that I want to do is I want to lock that aspect ratio equals to MSO true, so that the aspect ratio does not change. If the width is greater than the height, then I want to set the width. Then set the width equal to, let's say, about 50. Else, let's say the height is going to also equals 50. So it's going to set the limit to the size of that picture. Okay, I want to put the top position of that picture is going to be based on the existing item. So it's going to be based on this item. We've already placed this item right here, so it's going to be based on that item. So the top is going to equal to the top of that shape plus 5. Top plus 5. So it's going to be a little bit lower than the top of the shape. The left of the picture, the left is going to be equal to the left position of the shape, plus I want to add, what is the item width? The item width minus the width, so I want to center, minus the width of the picture, so, and then divided by 2. What that's going to do is going to center that picture inside the shape. Center picture horizontally. Okay, perfect. I like that. And then also I want to do the same thing. Basically, I want to assign the same exact macro to the picture as well. So we can assign that. Okay, so that's going to assign the item select on the action. Okay, we're going to save our work so far, and we're going to take a look to see if we have any errors. Okay, so basically when we click this, we want something to happen. Okay, well that looks really good. You see what we did here? We clicked it. Let's try T. It's a little bit slower than I would like, but you see those pictures don't erase. Okay, what we're doing is we're not deleting the pictures. Item pick 18. So when we see duplications like this, that means the original picture is not being deleted. So if you run into that because we have, in other words, if your pictures aren't being deleted properly, they get created once and then the size is not right, it's because you have duplicate images. So that means for some reason, right, when we do the coffee, it means we have a duplicate images. So we probably have more than one picture like that. So usually it's something like item picture is not going to be deleted. So let's take a look inside that to see why our pictures are not going to be our pictures are not deleted. We have shop picture here that's being deleted, but I think we have something called item picture, shop item. So what we need to do is we need to probably update the name. So this is called item picture. Probably should be. So we have to either change this to shop picture or change the above. Okay, so we're naming them correctly. So let's just name them to removing them to item picture. So in other words, we're deleting something that called item picture and we're creating it, making sure that we have right up here item picture. So now it's going to work fine. So now we select T, all the pictures get created, all the pictures get deleted. So anytime you see that we're too many pictures, it means they're not being deleted or named properly. So you just want to check two things. One, check to see what you're deleting here. Are you deleting the correct number? And to see what you're creating, we're creating the item picture right here. So we want to make sure that that's the same and you're good to go. Okay, so everything looks really good. We've got a macro that's tied to this and we can check it out. Okay, very good. So now what do we want to do? Now we've got everything created, looking good. Now when I select an item, I want some things to happen. One, if it's a drink, I want the sizes. And I also want to make sure that we have the information for the add-ins if we're adding those. Okay, so the next macro we're going to write is the macro that's tied to this called item select. That is the macro that we added up here called item select. That's also the next macro we're going to do. So what do we want to do? We need a few things. We want that item information. I want the item name to appear here. I want a default size to be set. Now that default size is located right here. It's called the default size and we set that to whatever we want. And so we want that information to appear here. We want the default size to be selected and whatever add-ins are associated with that drink type. So we've got add-ins. We've got, if it's a drink, we want these type of add-ins to come in. If it's a food, we want these types, or a bean, we want these. So that's going to be the add-ins that are going to appear here in shapes. All right, so let's get that started called item select. Now we're going to focus primarily on the coffee POS primarily. So we're going to focus on that. So with coffee POS sheet, again adding that period for IntelliSense to make sure we have the right sheet name. We're going to dimension the let's put in the size column as long, and we want to know whether, because we also want a price that's associated with the size, so I'm going to show you what that means, and the size row as long. Okay, we'll get into that exactly what's going to be. So basically when we have a size here in the shop items, I want to know what column this column, this column, this column, and also what rows associated with that item. So we're going to need that as well as we place it. Okay, so we're going to turn off application screen updating. We're going to go back to this sheet. That's what we're going to be focused on. And we'll make sure to turn it on. So anytime we turn it off, we turn it back on. Application screen updating equals false. And then I'm going to do the same thing before we end the macro. Application dot screen updating equals true. Okay, so inside our code's going to go in between there. And what kind of code are we going to be right? The first thing what I want to do is with that item select, I want to clear out again. I want to make sure that those two fields are cleared out, the selected size and also the order row. We're going to be adding those brand new, but I want to make sure that the order row is whatever row is associated here with the next item. So B10 and B12 must also be cleared out. We've already done that here, so we just need to copy and paste that up here. We've already done it up here. Those two fields, let's see, right up here. I'm going to copy this clear out item row. So we just need to copy that and then bring that down here since we've already added it. Okay, we've already has the sheet, so we don't need to do the sheet. Okay, we're clearing out those selected items just to make sure that they're clear before we add it. Next up, what I want to do is I want to set the picture folder. I want to set that just as we did before. Now we've already defined the picture folder up here. So we're going to do it once again here, simply copying this and bringing it down here, adding that picture folder, once again defining that range. Okay, after that, we want the item ID. What is the item ID? Now, if we remember correctly here, we've added the shop item 1 and coffee 1. So this is the ID here. So if we take a look, we have item pick. If I want the item ID, I'm going to remove the first 8 characters if they select on here. If they select on the background, again, I'm removing the first 8 characters. So whatever's less, no matter what they select here, I want to extract that item ID. So shop item 4, you see 4 is for the green tea. If we look inside our shop items and we look at 4, it's the green tea. So item ID 4, green tea. So I really need that item ID because I need to know the default drink price. What is it? If it's a drink, I need to extract. I also need the picture and I need to know the information from it. So I want to put that ID. So that ID, that selected item ID, I need to place that. And where are we going to place that? We're going to place it directly here inside B6. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so we have that. So we're going to extract that called item ID. How are we going to get that? It's going to be equal to replace application caller, which is again the name of the shape they called. I know I use that a lot, but it's really critical. It's a great feature. Application caller left. This time we're removing application dot caller, and I want to remove the first 8 characters and replace them 8 here and replace them with nothing. So that's going to get our item ID. I also want to know what is the item name. Item name is equal to what? Basically, it's the text inside there. Remember the item, it's the text inside here. So it's the text inside the shop item. So what I want to do is I want to call out the shop item. So to get that shop item, we are going to use dot shapes. We know it's the shop item and the item ID, which we already extracted. And we want to go and look in the text frame. Text range, text. So what is the text of that shape? That is our item name. And that's how we extract the item name. So now we have both the item name and the item ID. I'm going to set B2, B2 is going to take on that B12, B6 is going to take on that item ID range. B6 is going to take on the item ID. 6 dot value equals item ID. Okay, and then I want to put the item name. Where do I want to put that item name? I want to put that item name directly inside here, inside I10. So we'll do that here. Dot range, I10, dot value equals item name. Okay, so we're setting the item name and we're setting the item ID. Set item ID. That's the selected item. Now, what else do we want to do? So I want to now basically go in and look inside the shop items. Now I want to color these selected. If we remember, just like we colored these, I'm going to color these. I want to know the select items. So what we're going to do is we're just going to copy this right up here. I'm going to copy everything we did right here, and then I'm going to update it for each shape. We just need to update the shape names, but it's kind of a basic process. So basically, all of these items, we're going to make them light brown, and then the selected one, we're going to make it dark brown. So just as we did with the categories, we're now going to do it with the items. So we can copy it and then modify it to save a little bit of time. So I'm going to paste that in here. And so for each, I'm just tab this out a little bit here. For each item shape and copy. So but now what are we focused on? We're focused on the shop item. So we're going to change it to shop item. Everything that equals shop item. I'm going to set the for color for all, this time item for all. Let's do item shapes, okay, not categories. And now we want to take what? I want to take the shop item and I want to color it. So how are we going to do that? So this one's going to be the shop item, and the item ID. That specific one, we're going to color that dark brown, item ID. Okay, so I like that, but also what I want to do is I want to update the shape. So if we take a look here, I've got different, for cold and hot drinks, I've got different sizes. I've got different cups. Let's take a look inside my picture and take a look inside here. So we've got some cups here, this large paper, these brown paper, these are for hot, and the plastic is for cold. So I got 3 each of those. So we can see them up here, small. And I've got the names right here. The names of those pictures don't matter. So for hot drinks, we're going to use the small paper, large paper. So these are for the hot drinks. These are the pictures for the cold drinks. So, but I want to do is I want to clear any pictures that might exist. Any pictures that might exist, I want to clear them out. So what we're going to do is we're going to give those very specific names called picture sizes. And since we're adding more than one, we're going to wrap it in on error, resume next, and on error go to 0. So we're going to do that right here. Okay, so now inside there, I also want to remove, as we loop through all the shapes, I'm going to look for another if in string. This time I'm looking for item shape dot name. I'm looking for the size pictures. I'm going to give them a very specific name called picture size. If it's found, I'm going to delete them because we're going to replace them. If it's a drink, only if it's a drink, is greater than 0, then item shape dot delete. So I'll put a little note here, delete any size pictures if visible. Okay, so we're deleting those. So we're using the same, looping through the same shapes. We're here, basically we're coloring, and we're doing 2 things. We're coloring all the backs, this light brown, and we're just removing any pictures that are inside that would be inside here. We're going to then remove them. Okay, so now the third thing that we've done is we've actually colored the select item brown. So how about when we select it? When we select it, let's fix this item name, let's run that and update that. Okay, so now we see that it's looking good. So we've got our code here. Our name is here. So far, we've got that one selected to brown, and things are looking good, whether we select on the icon or whether we select on the shape. Perfect. That's just the way we want it. So far, so good. Okay, let's continue on with our code. So after we color that selected shape brown, what else do we want to do? Well, I want to set the item ID. So B6, we've already set the item ID up here. Good, that's covered. Next up, I want to make sure that we are going to set, if it's hot, the size. I want to know if it's a drink. How do we know if it's a drink? Well, I can look here. Remember, we have the item type here, but how do we know that if that's a drink? Well, we need a formula that's going to help us with that. And so because we've placed the item ID here, now we know the row of this. So what I want to do is I want to run an index, and I want to look inside this row 8, and I want to see if it is a drink type. So basically we're going to look it up here. I'm going to look up the item type, and I'm going to see if it's a drink. Okay? If it is a drink, I want to know, is it hot or cold? So we can do that as well. But first we do drink, then we do hot. So we can do both of those things. They're going to be formulas. Equals if error, always if error. We're going to run an index on the item type. So item drink type or item type. So this is going to be the item type. So we're going to look into item type. And what's the row number? The row number is going to be basically the selected database row minus 3. And then we want the single column. If it's an error, we're going to put empty. Okay, so that's going to tell us it's a drink. But then what I want to know is it a hot drink or is it a cold drink? So we can have a formula that's going to help us with that. First, I want to know, again, we can do if error. We're going to run an index, but this time we're indexing what? The item drink type. So this is going to be the drink type. And again, the row is simply going to be what's in B7, and we're going to subtract 3. Then we want an exact column number, so we're going to put the column number if it's an error. Okay, so that's going to tell us it's hot. So now we know it's a drink, and we also know it's hot. So what I want to do is I want to just look up these 3 pictures of the hot cups, and I want to place them directly in this shape, and this shape. So that's what we want to do. First, what we need to do is check to see if it's a drink inside a code. So we can do that. Our drink is going to appear, if it's a drink, it's going to appear in B8. So that type, that item type is going to appear directly inside B8. If .range B8.value equals drink, then can we close our loop? Okay, so we know it's a drink type. Now what we need to do is determine what type of a drink. Is it hot or is it cold? So first of all, I know it's a drink. So what we're going to do inside this I10 or inside the selected size B10, we can put that. So in fact, let's go use a formula here. I'm going to use a formula and I'm just going to put equals if, because I want that size to appear, that default size to appear right here, the selected size inside B10. If this equals empty, then show empty. Otherwise, I want to show whatever is there. And that's going to be that selected size. So B10 is going to change as the user selects a different size. So it's going to show empty right now. But so what I want to do in the selected size is I want to place that default. So whatever's inside our default size here, E9, that means when they select drink, it's going to go to that default size. It's going to be put in B10. So all we need to do is dot range B10 dot, we have a named range for that already, value equals, and then we're just going to put default size. Okay, so that default size is going to go set default drink size. Now that we know that, what we want to do then is I want to determine, is it a hot or cold? So if dot range B9 is that dot value equals hot, if it's hot, we're gonna add some drinks. So I want to set the size column, then size column, and I'm gonna explain this in just a second, equals 8, else size column equals 9. Set size. Okay, so what does that mean, the size column? As we know, inside the admin screen, we have two columns, one column here and one column here. If I'm going to be pulling up the pictures, I need to know what column to pull it up from. We know that this is column 8 and this is column 9. We know the rows already. It's going to be 7 through 9. But I want to do is I want to know what column. If it's a cold drink, it's going to be in column 9. If it's a hot drink, it's going to be in column 8. So that column number is going to help us. That's why we have that inside a variable. Okay, so continuing on with our code. If it's a hot, the size column is 8, else size column equals 9. Now that I have the size column, what I can do is I can run a loop. So for size row equals 7 to 9. Then our admin, that's where they're located. Next size row. Okay, great. So now that we have that, what I want to do is I want to insert those pictures. So basically, what is the size? I'm going to set the size. Size is equal to the admin dot range. G is where the size are located, and the size row dot value. Set size name. So we're setting the name of that size. It's going to come directly from column G. If we take a look in there, we see column G is going to have small, medium, and large. So we're setting our size variables right there. Once we have that, I also want to grab the picture. So if we take a look at the size, I want to, first of all, make sure that the back size is visible. So let's take a look here. We have back size small, back size medium, and back size large. I want to make sure that those are visible. So we're going to do that right here, because we may not want to show those for things that are not drinks. We may not want to show those sizes. So we can do that here. Dot shapes, back size, underscore, make sure that we have the underscore just as we do there, and the size, dot visible equals MSO true. Show background drink size shapes. Okay, so we're showing those to making sure that they are deleted. I also want to set the picture name. What is that picture name? It's going to be located equals the admin. This time we're using cells, size row, size column, dot value, picture name. And just to reiterate, what we're doing here is we're grabbing that picture name. I'm either grabbing the picture name from here or here, or from here or here. So we're just looping through 7 through 9 or grabbing the picture name, whether it's a cold or a hot drink. So we're extracting that information there. Okay, so now we have that inside a variable. Once we have that picture name, I want to set the full picture out. The picture path is equal to the picture name and the backslash here. And also I want to know that picture name. I'm going to add that picture folder actually. Picture folder and the picture name combined. So that's going to be our picture path folder. Okay, so we have the full size, full picture path. Okay, so now once we have that, we can insert that. But I do want to check it to make sure that it is correct. So if the directory, actually we copied it up here, so we can just do it something like here. Basically, I'm going to copy this right here. Same thing here. No difference. So go to no pick. So we're just going to go down here and write in no pick. Okay, so now that we know the picture is correct, we can then insert it. So we can do this, dot pictures, dot insert, and the picture path, we're going to give it a very specific name, equal to picture size, and then I want to give it an underscore and whatever size it is, and the size, which is called size, and the size. Okay, that's going to create and name the picture. Once we have it, then what we want to do is we want to set the location. First thing I want to do is go with that brand new, what we've just created, which is this right here. This is the shape that we just created. Dot shapes, picture size, And what are we going to do inside it? First, lock the aspect ratio equals true, just as we do with all the pictures. Next up, inside that, I want to know if the dot width is greater than the dot height. Then we're going to set the width to 50. Then dot width equals 50, else dot height equals 50. Okay, so we're just setting the maximum height and width. Okay, once we have that, we need to position it at the left. There we go. Equals, what is it going to be based on? Coffee, POS, dot shapes. It's going to be inside that back size. Back size underscore, and what is the size? So size and size dot left. So basically, right, I want to place it inside this shape. We know this is back size small and the small. So we're placing it inside this shape, but I want to say, oops, I'm a little quick there. I haven't finished the code. So good. It's working properly so far, but we need to set what I want to do now is set the left position, right? All we did was we set it exactly to the same to the left, but not quite, right? We want to center it. So how are we going to do that? We got to continue with the code. I pushed the button by accident, but that's okay. Looks good so far. Okay, so the left position, we're going to add to that. Plus, I want to know the width of this shape. So plus, it's going to be the width of this shape, dot width, minus, what are we subtracting? We're subtracting the width of the actual picture. And we're going to divide that by 2. So we're going to put that in parentheses here, put this in parentheses, divided by 2. Okay, now let's accidentally click a button and see how we're doing. Okay, so now we click that. Okay, so now it looks good. It's centered. Now we got to set the top position. So that's the next thing. We haven't gotten to that yet. Top position, what's that top position is going to be? That top position we're going to set equal to, again, this coffee, the size of that top position based on that shape, plus we're going to add a little bit onto that. So we're going to plus 3. I also want to assign a macro to that. So on action, it's going to be equal to a macro called drink size underscore select. Okay, good. So that's the macro that's going to be tied to that. Now let's see. Now we got our top position set. Okay, that looks really good. So we see now that's good for a hot drink. How about a cold drink here? All right, everything's looking really good. So we've got our macros. I like the way that that looks. Size, let's make sure this is bold. This looks a little bit off-centered. I think it's okay. All right, so continuing on, we have the information. I think we just need to move this over a little bit, this over a little bit. Okay, continuing on, now that we've got our drink sizes set up, what we want to do is we want to fill the back size. Okay, so let's do that. So remember, we have a default. Remember, we have that default here. So here in our admin, if I switch that default to switching it to a large default and I select one, right? So here's our large size. But what I want to do is I want to show that default size as the darker brown because it's already selected. So I want to show it. You see it's put here in B10 and it's linked to here. So now what I want to do is I want to know which one has automatically been selected by coloring the last one that color. So that's exactly what we're going to do now that we've been there. So we're going to set the default size. So let's put a little note here called set default size. And to do that, we've already set the default. We've already actually set the default size up here, but we want to color that. So how do we do that? Well, we can do it pretty much exactly the way we did it up here with the shapes. Again, so we're going to loop through just as we did, and we just need to copy and paste those. So let's go back up here and take a look right at, let's copy this one up here that we did. I like this, setting the brown color. So we're just going to do this for each. Now we're focused on the shape. So you see it's kind of a repeat, but it's just, so setting the default size. Okay, so I'm going to tab this here and here. Okay, but now we just need to change the names to big. So we're going to go, again, loop through every shape. We're just focused on 3 shapes in this case. But the ones that we're going to color, we're going to focus on anything that says back size. So back size, which is just 3, we're going to give them that regular brown color. Then what I want to do is I want to focus on back size, and the size, giving it that dark brown. So whatever size that background color, selecting the brown color for default size, and I'm going to change the name up there for all sizes, all size shapes, for all size shapes. Okay, so let's take a look at the macros so far to see how we're doing. Okay, good. So you see now it's selected large here. So large is always the default size. However, if I change the default size here back to medium, and then we select another drink, that medium is going to be set. Whoops, it didn't work. Let's fix that up. Inside the code, I'm going to set that default size because that variable needs to be reset. Size equals default size, just to make sure. Default size. Okay, very good. So that's going to set that default size to make sure that we have that. All right, so let's take a quick look in here. Now it's going to be set to medium, which is what I want. Let's do change it to small just to make sure that we have all or add that default size on new drinks resetting. Perfect. Just the way I like it. Okay, continuing on, what else do we want to know inside this macro? Well, I'd like to know the price of that default size. That's very important. If we take a look here, we have the item price. So why don't we link that to that? So we're going to equals whatever price is located here. So now we've got the price set. If the user selects a different size, I want to make sure that B10 takes on that default size range. B10 dot value equals size. So we want to make sure set default in cell. Okay, so now we have the default size in a cell. Things are looking pretty good on that. All right, so we've got the sizes set up and we're looping through the size. What if there's no sizes? What if there's no? So we see this is the next size. What I'm going to do else? No size needed. And what I want to do then is hide the shapes. Now there's two ways you could do this. You could hide, there's only 3 of them, so we may not need to run a loop. We could just basically hide these or run a loop. Either one. So one's 3 lines of code, one's 4 lines of code. So whether you run a loop or whether you hide the shapes, it's either one is fine. So we'll run the loop, but there's 2 ways to do this. In other words, you could just copy and paste. You could do this. You could do dot shapes, backside size, and then small dot visible equals and so on and so forth. Oops. Dot visible, we'll do the loop. It's a little more fun. Dot visible equals MSO false. So that's one way of doing it, right? And then just copy this and paste it for each one. But another way to do that is you can run that loop here, just as we did for size row equals 7 to 9. So that would be 3 lines of code. This is 4 lines of code. Next size row. All we need to do is then grab the size directly from here, just as we did before, the size, just like we did here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hide it. So both are fine. Either one is okay. So now we can do dot shapes, and then we do back size underscore and size dot visible equals MSO false. False, not true. False. Okay, so the idea here is if it's non-drink, let's say we go to a bakery item, I don't want those, when I select something, I want those shapes to be hidden. So they're all hidden on bakery items. Okay. Now, theoretically, we could hide them when we select the bakery, but once we select it, it sets the default size. Okay, so if it's a drink type, we want to show. Otherwise, they're going to be hidden. So I like that. So this is for hide shapes, non-drinks. I'll just put non-drinks. Okay, very good. So now we've got that. We set it all up. And now what I want to do is I want to run add-ins that are associated. So drinks have some type of add-ins, bakery have add-ins. So remember, drinks have some type of add-ins, food have some type, beans have another. So we can have add-ins on per type. So I wanted to put that into a separate macro. And that macro is going to be right here called item add or update. Actually, it's going to be called add-ins. So add-in type. So let's do that. Let's run the macro for that. So we'll clean things up here with the code, remove the additional spaces here. And here I'm going to write under the end if I'm going to write add-in option underscore update. So I want to update the add-in options. Run macro to update add-ins and options. I'm calling them add-ins and options. Okay, I also want to add an item add or update. Item add or update. So I want to save the item. And what that's going to do is going to run a macro. Basically, when we select something, I want to automatically add it to here. Automatic. So we don't need to add any more. And then any options will be added under that. If we change the size, it'll be changed automatically. So another macro is going to add it to this list, this receipt here. And that's going to be called item add or update. So we can either add it to the list or we can update it to the list. Basically, it's been saved. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. So it's called run macro to add or update item on order received. Okay. Now, once we have that, so we're going to turn on application screen updating true. That's it for that macro. We've got that covered and we don't need to do anything else. So clearing that. Okay. So now item add or update. That's the next macro that I want to write. Remember, that's the one that's simply going to add it to the receipt automatically. And now remember, every time we add an item, I want the row that's associated to go in B12. That's why it's important to clear it out every time we change categories. Every time we update the groups, we're always clearing out B12. When we add an item, I want to put whatever row that's been put there, I want to put that directly inside B12. So the first thing we need to do is look, is B12 empty? If it's empty, we know it's a brand new item. If it's not, we need to update the existing item. So we're going to check on that. So for item add or update, we're going to check that out. All right, so I'm focusing on that same sheet with coffee POS. First thing what I want to do is I want to look inside B12. If .range B12 .value equals empty, then it's a new item. Else existing item update. Okay, and then we're going to close it off with the end if. Okay, so once inside there, what do we need to do for a new item? Well, I want to set the new item row. So that item row is going to be equal to, now it's a little bit tricky. We can't use a single column because I've got add-ins going in this column and I've got items going in this column. So what I want to do is I want to look in both columns and determine what the last row is. So we're going to use the find command for that. So to do that, we're going to talk about dot range. M12 is going to be our first possible row with data. That's going to be through n, and then we'll just do a larger 999. Dot find, we're going to look for find. What are you finding? I'm finding anything. So we're going to use the wildcard for that, which is the asterisk there. I'm going to look in Excel values, Excel whole, and also I want to look in Excel by rows. I want to look in the rows, and I want to look in the previous, because I want the row up. So, and what I want to do is I want to look for that row. What is the row with value? And I want to add one because I want the next available row. So we're going to call this the first available row. Okay, so we have that. So that's going to get us our first available row. We'll be using this a few times. Okay, next up, what I want to do is I want to set B12 to that. Dot range, B12 dot value equals the item row. Set item row. However, if B12 is currently has the value in it, I just want to put that in that variable. So the item row equals whatever's in B12, existing item row. Now that we have the item row, whether it's new or existing, we can continue on. What I want to do is I want to check to see if it's got an item name. What is in I11? As long as it's not empty, if dot range, what is it here? Take a look here. I11's right here. Size, I11's the size. So I want to take a look at the size first. If dot range dot I11 looks like the same, make sure I got that right. I111. Okay, there we go. Dot value does not equal empty, meaning it's a drink, so it has a size associated with it. Then the item name is going to be equal to, what I want to do is either, if there's a size that's associated with this, I want to combine the item name and the size together. If it's not, like a bakery item, then I just want to use the item name alone. So basically, I'm taking the item name and the size and putting it together. So to do that, I'm going to set that item name equal to whatever's in I10.range I10, which is actually the item name, dot value, and then we'll put quotation mark, space, a dash, a space, and again, and a dash, and of course that value located in I11. So that size that's located in I11. So we're going to copy this and paste it here. Else, the item name is simply just what's located in I10. The item name is simply equal to this and nothing else, just the item name. So for food or coffee, there's no size associated with that. So it's just what's located in I10. Okay, so it's going to set the item name, set, and it could include the size, set item name. Okay, so once we've set that item name, I want to put that item name directly in column M, or whatever row here. So I'm going to take that on. So dot range M and the item row dot value equals the item name. Okay, I also want to set the item price dot range. That's going to be located in O, and the item row dot value equals that item price. Where's that price located? It's located in K11 dot range. K11 is where that item price is. Dot value, item price. Okay, very good. So we've got the item price here, and also we can see we want to make sure that the price is changing here as we select it. Okay, we still need to assign the macros to the size change. We assigned it to this, but we need to make sure we're assigning it to the backs as well. And of course, we need to make sure that they update the price based on this. So we already checked that out, small. We know that the price is going to update based on that. We just want to make sure that it updates here as well inside B11 when we select the size. So we've got a few things to do on that. Okay, lastly, every time we add an item, we've got a footer group that we still need to build out. Now, the footer group is a bunch of shapes that are going to show the totals, subtotals, and all that. We're going to build that now, but I want to make sure that we write that macro in, because every time we add that item, I want to update that footer group, and you'll see that set footer group. We're going to build that macro group. So this update footer group position, we're going to build that footer group right now. Okay, footer group is simply a collection of shapes that are going to help us show the totals. So let's take a look at that right now. So it's going to position that down here. We're going to insert a shape here. We're going to use a text box here. So basic text box, and we'll keep the borders for now, but we'll eventually erase them. So I want several different shapes within this group. The first is I want to have a subtotal. So we're going to give it that subtotal amount. So where's that subtotal located? It's going to be equal to, whatever subtotals here. So great. So now what I want to do is I'm going to update this. I'm going to Control 1 here. I'm going to update the text options here because I don't want so many margins here for that. So left margin we can remove, right margin, I'm just going to remove all the margins. That's okay because the borders are not going to be shown. So I'm going to put that in the right, justify that. I'm going to put that in the middle. And that's exactly where I want that. So it's going to be about right here. We'll keep the borders on for now, but eventually we won't use them. So I'm going to duplicate that, Control D, and I'm going to bring it down here. And we're going to set the height on these probably to about 0.2. So 0.2 should be sufficient. And that's going to, okay, so now once that's going to be about the same as the row. So how do we determine that? We want it about the same height as the existing row. So I'm using that 0.2. Okay, so this one is going to be our tax, right? I want to know what tax we're paying on that. So the second one's going to be tax. So our tax, where's our tax located? It's located inside R9. So that's the next one. So we're going to link it. And then I want the total. So we're going to duplicate that one more time here. And in this one, I'm going to put it in R10. R10 is located where our order total is. Next up, I want to know the total paid. So I'm going to duplicate this one more. Where's our total paid? Our total paid is going to be located in B18. So we're going to set that to B18 because our total paid, our formatted total paid is located right here. And I'll show you why this one total paid is not formatted. It has to do with these numbers here. So if we know our total paid, I also want to know what is our change. So I'm going to duplicate that one more. This one, our change is going to be located directly here inside R13. So we can do that. Okay, so now we have everything just the way we like it as far as the look. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that these are lined up accordingly, centered. They look good. I don't think they need to be that big. The shape format, the width can be a little bit less. We'll set that to 1. Okay, so of course we do want it moved over. I want it to be displayed right under these here. Of course, we need to set the names for that. So we're going to show them right about here should be sufficient. Okay, so what else do I want to show? I want some text boxes. I'm going to duplicate one of these and make some changes on that. So now we've got text boxes. So what do we want to show in here? I'm going to clear out the formula. This one won't have a formula. I will left justify this here. So going in the left, justify that. And we're going to put subtotal in here. This one's going to be called subtotal, and we're going to make that bold. So subtotal, so subtotal. We'll make it all bold, actually. So once we have our subtotal, and we can get rid of that $sign. I also want to know the tax. Now the tax basically is, remember we have a tax string here. It's built up here. This is where I want that tax string to appear. We created it, but I want it linked to that. So I'm going to duplicate that using Control D. And this one, I'm going to link exactly to that tax string cell here, right? Located here. Perfect. So that way we have a dynamic tax. The reason that being is if the tax changes to 8%, then I want that automatically to be changed there. So you see now it's 8%. We're going to format that, probably use the extra zeros on that, 0.00, 0.00 if we want 2 of them to show up. Okay, that looks pretty good. I like that. Whoa, way too much. Okay, that looks good. Perfect, just the way I want it. So we'll add the 2 zeros on to the end of that. Now, what else do we need to do? Well, I'm going to duplicate that. This one is going to be our total. So we're going to just clear that out. It's just a text range. We're going to call this total. So just adding total here. Perfect. We also want to duplicate that, adding one more for total paid and another one for change. So duplicate twice, total paid, and then change. And we'll line those up accordingly. This one's going to be total paid. And what we want to do is group them all together and give that group a name, total paid. And lastly, we want to know the change. Okay, perfect. So I like the way that looks, at least for our total range. And then I'm going to just make this, they look pretty good. I'm going to make sure that these equal the bottoms here so that everything gets lined up accordingly. Okay, so we'll line up the middles there. That looks good. And then also the tops here, and then lining that up. Okay, so now what we want to do, I just want to add in a few more things, actually. One that says thank you for your business, and then maybe one that says the date and time. So let's line these up here, and then we can line them up on the left. They should all be sized the same as well to make sure, perfect. And then I want to distribute them evenly accordingly. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now what else do we want to do? I want to add in thank you for your business. So I'm going to duplicate that here, and then this one's going to be centered. So we're going to add this to the center. And it's going to be called thank you for your business. We could probably make this dynamic too, using like in the admin screen, using the receipt name or something. Thank you for your business. All right, so I'm going to bring this over here. I want to make this about the width of the receipt. If you only see 2, you want to zoom in so you can see all 3, so you can add it there. Going to center this accordingly, making sure it's about the equal distance, just so we can fit in all text. And then here, we're going to italicize this. We'll bold everything. I want to duplicate that here. and I want to use one for the current time, the time and date of the receipt. Now we have that time and date of the existing receipt. We've got that tied to a specific cell, and that's going to be located directly inside B19. So I'm going to put it just at any date now equals now. And then I don't really want a formula in here. I just want the values for now. And so I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to paste the values right in here too, because I really don't want the formulas. VBA is going to take care of that, but I do want to see it on the receipt. So equals here, and I'm just going to place it directly in here. Okay, so I like that. Let's zoom in so we can see it's a little bit too small. Okay, so very good. So this is what's called our footer, and I'm going to bring these over here a little bit so that we can see our footer. So you can use our selection here, and we're going to select all the shapes, and I'm just going to bring these over a little bit to the left. All right, everything's looking good. So now what I want to do is I want to remove the borders. I don't want to see any borders, so we're going to go into the home or shape format here, and then the shape outline, and then no outline on that. Okay, very good. So what I want to do now is group them all together, and we're going to give it a very specific group. And I also want to make sure that everything's bolded in here. I actually want to add some more lines to that. So let me ungroup that. I want to add a little bit of a few lines, one for the above. So I'm going to insert, and those lines are going to be part of the group too. Shapes here, line. So I want to add a small dotted line to separate these. I'm just going to add it right up about in here, and we'll bring it up here. I'm going to zoom in so we can make sure that it's straight, and then we'll zoom in. Okay, so I like the way that that looks here. Bringing it down a little bit. Now what we want to do is we want to color it accordingly. We can use Control-1 and to see the line. And so when we take a look inside this line, what type of a line we're going to have, we want to have a dash type. We'll use this dash type here, and I'm going to use the color of black, and we want to make sure it's a little bit thicker here, of course, so we want to increase the width of that line. Okay, that looks pretty good. I like the way that that looks. Now I'm going to, actually, I want to duplicate that line, and I want to bring it down here. I want to separate the total and the total paid, except this particular line, I'm going to use a thick. We're not going to use a solid line on that. Okay, so that separates the total paid and the change. Things will look good. Now we can ready to group it. Okay, that looks good. I like the way that that looks. So it's all grouped together on the sheet. So the idea is this group here is going to move down. We call it a floating footer, and it floats. It moves down as we add items. So we're going to give it a very distinct name, and the name of that group is called footer group. So we're going to put in here called footer group. Thanks for sticking with us on these really long trainings. I hope you really enjoyed this. I work really hard, and I love bringing these to you. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you click the like button below. That is going to really help us out. Okay, it's called footer group, and a macro will take care of the positioning, so we don't have to worry about that. And looks good. Okay, I like the way that that looks. And now that we have it, we can then continue on. So saving our work, always save frequently. And we continue and see what the next macro. Now the next macro is called add-in option update. And that is going to run through all the add-in items, and then it's either going to delete it or it's going to update them accordingly. So let's focus on that. Because based on those item types, we need to add or update the options inside the add-ons here. So we're going to do that right now. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is go into with the coffee POS. Inside there, we're going to, for each item shape in. So you see that we have a lot of the repetitions here. Next item shape. That's going to help you learn these techniques much faster because a lot of them are the same. On air resume next, and on air go to 0 when we're deleting or updating more than one. On air resume next here. On air go to 0 here. Okay, so now that next up, what do we want to do? Well, the first thing what I want to do is I want to check if it's called add-in item, I want to delete it. So if in string item shape dot name add-in item. So that's what I'm looking for. So if it's greater than 0, then what do we want to do? I want to delete the shape. We will recreate them, so it's no problem. Item shape dot delete. Delete. And the reason we want to delete these shapes is because we don't know how many add-ins there will be. Up to 10 we can add in. So delete add-in shape. So we want to, and I also want to delete any pictures that's associated with that. So I'm just going to copy this, and we're going to update it for pictures. Add-ins have pictures as well. They're going to be called add-in pics. Again, remember the same number of strings. Look at that. Same string add-in pic. Add-in might both have the name number strings. We're going to delete add-in picture. Okay. So now that we've deleted it, now what we can do is loop through create a brand new add-in shapes and new add-in pictures based on the number of add-ins. And we're going to go over that right now. So that's all we're going to do is loop through that, and we can end with. Now we're going to focus on the add-ins sheet. So with, and I'll show you what we're going to do with add-ins, making sure that we have the name right, which we do. Okay, so again, I want to run an advanced filter. Here's our add-ins. Now what I want to do is I want to look at all the add-ins for drinks, which is here. And I want to return those results right here. These are all the add-ins that are associated with drinks. Add-ins are options. And of course, it's linked, our criteria is linked directly to B8. If we remember, B8, we have our type here. Our selected item type is here. So it's linked to B8. So we automatically know. That means if we choose a bakery item, it's automatically going to change to we select a bakery item. We haven't finished this. Set footer group. Well, we did define the name here. We'll fix that in a second. There's a set footer. Oh, too many O's here, probably, because there's nothing in the macro, but the name is correct. Okay, so that's good. So basically, when we do that, we want to make sure, if you see now what we're going to do is run food. So now you see it's based on food. So if we select a drink, I want to know all the add-ins associated with the drinks. So add-ins here, we want these results to come here. I want to determine the last row, run an advanced filter, and have the results come here. Inside the add-ins, that's what we're going to do. So the last row is equal to A. The last results, we're going to check to make sure that we have results less than 4. We can exit the sub. There's going to be no add-ins. If there are add-ins, we're going to run an advanced filter, and that advanced filter is going to be based on what data. We're going to go from A through E, so A3 through E. The criteria is going to be J2 through J3, J2 through J3. And don't forget, you can support this channel on our Patreon. Patreon, I'll have a lot more. I want to hear your ideas. I want to hear your comments. What would you like me to add? You want me to add a feature to this? You want me to fix something, or want me to focus? Or would you maybe like that beautiful PDF codebook that's going to be included? That's all on our Patreon platform. So I hope you'll join us there on Patreon. All right, cool. So our results are going to come from N2 through P. So N2 through P2. That's where we want the results. And I want to determine the last results row. Last results row is going to be based on column P. Then what we're going to do is we're going to loop through those results. If the last results row are less than 3, we can exit the sub out. If they're not, we can then continue on. So if we're going to set the initial left position. So basically what I want to do, left position, is I want to build these add-ins. I want these add-ins to appear here. So we need to set that initial left position. That first initial left position is going to be based on column H. So this is where I want it to go, and a little bit over that. So maybe H a little bit above that, adding 3 on that RFP. So we're going to set that initial left position right there. All right, so continuing on. Let's set that initial left position is equal to coffee POS. Remember, we're on a different sheet, dot range based on column H through H, dot left. Maybe we can move it over a little bit, but I think set initial left position. Okay, so once we have that, I also want to set the top position. The top position equal to, also it's going to be based on, this time, what is going to be based on a specific row, 16. Let's do coffee POS dot range based on row 16. So we can do 16 colon 16 dot top position. So I want to set initial top position. I know this is a lot of features, but it's so great. You can learn so much when you follow these trainings. So because there's so many gems in here. So the top position. So now what I want to do is, I know the top position. I want to get ready to run our loop for the result row equals 3 to last result row. Okay, next result, closing our loop. Okay, so inside that loop, what do I want to do? I've got all that information here. I want to bring it into some variables. Here's the information, and we want the add-in ID, the item name, and the picture. So those 3 I want to put inside some variables. So add-in ID is equal to dot range, whatever is located in column N, and the result row. Okay, so that's the add-in ID. Remember, each add-in ID has it. Okay, so we can copy that. Next up, I want to know the add-in name. So we'll do add-in name is equal to whatever's located add-in name, and that's going to be in column O. Lastly, we need to put that picture in. That picture is going to be called pic name, and it's going to be located in column P. Okay, I also want to set the folder. I think we need to set the folder up here for those pictures. Going to do that just one more time here. Let's do it right up here. Pic folder equals, and then inside the brackets, picture folder. Okay, all right, I like that. Just to make sure we've got that, we could also set that as public too. Picture name. Now I want to know the coffee POS. We're going to do that shape first, dot shape. So basically what we're going to do is going to take that shape that we have here, this shape, we're going to duplicate it. We're going to position it right here. We're going to put in a few columns and have those add-ins appear there. So the picture shapes dot sample, the name of that shape is called sample item, as you see in the upper left. Dot duplicate, dot name, we're giving it a unique name, is equal to what? It's going to be equal to add-in item and the unique ID. Add-in, that's why we always have an ID, add-in ID. Okay, so now that we've duplicated it, we can copy this and we're going to focus on just that shape to position it. Dot shapes. Oh, so I got to call it the sheet again, coffee POS dot shapes. This shapes, and we're going to work with it. So we're going to add in the width. So with that, and I'm going to bring that back up here, focusing on just that shape. What are we going to do with it? And then closing the parentheses here. Okay, so now double quotes again, get rid of that. Once we have that, we're going to set that top position. The top position, top equals the top position. Set top position. And it's almost exactly what we did before, right? Almost, remember we added the mod before. Using the mod, we placed it on here. So we can do exactly the same thing that we did up here. So I'm going to copy that right here. This is where it's at. So what I want to do is I want to look through this, and I'm just going to copy this here, and then we can update it accordingly because we don't need to redo it all again. So we're going to put in the admin, although the locations are slightly different, but we can add it in there. Okay, so the top position we've already set. Now, if the result mod to even rows column, and this time it's going to be, we're going to use a different column. We use just second column here. Second column sufficient. So if it's in the second column, we're going to update the left position, and the left position this time is going to be based on column J. So it's either going to be H or J. So those are the columns. So this time we're going to use it in column J, and that's where the second column is going to go, inside column J, and then we can add 3 onto that. I don't need that much. Okay, so we also want to update the top position. Is the top position plus, let's do just 60. Okay, that's we're going to update the top position. Else odd rows, first column, of course it's not column E, which is actually column H. So we're going to set the left position is going to equal the left position, reset the left position. So reset the left position. Okay, so the item width is going to be what? We'll set it to, let's say 100 here. The height, we'll set that to 55. The text frame, it's going to be, of course, this is the add-in name. We're going to be called add-in name. And then what do we have here? I want to know the macro that's going to run. It's going to be called add-in select, not item select, add-in select. Okay, very good. So we've got that. Now we can just close that with statement. And now what we want to do is, that's for the shape. So we've created the shape, but now we want to focus on the picture. So again, let's copy this and paste it. We've got the picture path and we've set it a few other things. We can do that right here. I'm just going to copy this here, and then we're going to paste it, and we're going to make those updates a little bit quicker. Okay, so scrolling down right here. So we're going to set the picture path, picture folder, and picture name. That's it. That's going to be the same. Checking to make sure that we have it. We're going to insert the picture. It's not going to be, we're going to change the name of that. It's going to be called add-in picture. We want to make sure that the name is the same one that we're deleting. In the top of this macro, we're deleting something called add-in picture. So that's the same name that we want to use when we add it. So picture, size, add-in picture, and what? We also want to add in the name. So add an ID. So we're going to redo. We don't need the underscore there. And this one's going to change to add in ID. Okay, create name and picture. Perfect. Create, let's use add-in. So that's going to create the add-in, but then what we want to do is we want to, again, copy this to make sure that we have it perfectly, focusing on just that one, just that add-in picture. So now add in ID here, make sure we got ID here. Okay, so we're going to lock the aspect ratio. That's normal. If the width and the height, we're going to set them to, let's say 40, a little bit smaller, and we have little less space here, and 36 on this. Now what I want to do is I want to set the left based on the add-in item and the add-in ID. So let's copy that up here to make sure that we got it correct. Once we create these shapes here, this shape here, I want to base that picture, center it inside that shape. So we're going to base it on that shape here and remove the double quotes here. And we are going to also use the width of that. So we want to make sure we know the width of that shape. Add an item, the width divided by the width of the shape times 2. And the same thing, the top position of that here, plus, let's say, that should be fine, plus a little bit. The top position, we'll add in 2 on that one. Okay, so we've set both the top and the left, and on action is going to be add in select. So we're going to use the same thing here. On action is going to be add in select. So when they select something, that's the macro that we're going to run. That's, of course, that's in right here, this macro right here that we're going to run. Okay, so now we've added in the add in. So we're going to go next result. We're going to clean that up here to make sure we have everything. Okay, so we're going to save our work. Always save our work before running macros. So now if we select coffee and then go to no picture, if there's no picture, we need to skip down right about here. No, and just there we go. So we have that. So in case we need to add that, that's important. Okay, continuing on. Okay, so let's take a look. Our pictures didn't show up. We need to update the shapes in the top position but at least we have that. Okay, so we need to get those pictures. Let's take a look inside the pictures and see what else we need to do to get the pictures. And we also want to make sure we're inserting the picture path, adding a picture and ID. So we want to make sure that the picture folder and the picture name are correct. So, okay, let's take a look back at our code. On the pictures insert, remember we're on with add in sheet. So we need to call out the sheets when we're inserting the picture here. We need to make sure we're inserting it in the right sheet, which is the coffee POS. If we take a look at our add-in sheet, what do we find there? Look at the pictures there. Okay, we don't need that. Show all, all right, select all. So we can select all the pictures. We don't need them on the add-in sheet. So basically we didn't call out the sheet, so we can select all those and then just delete them. Let's just make a few updates. I want to lower these. I want to make sure these pictures get added in. Okay, so to lower them, I'm going to set that top position here. I'm going to add a little bit, let's say +3 on that. And then moving down also, we want to make sure that we've set the page, right? Set the right sheet here, because we're inside addeds, right? So we do need to call out the right sheet here. Okay, let's take a quick look at that, selecting on everything and take a look. All right, so we've got the pictures and now we're gonna update these. And now I wanna update these add-in buttons. And we're gonna write a macro called add-in type select. So I wanna select these and add in the macro that's gonna be associated with those. All right, so let's go back in the code here and we see we have drink size. Okay, so we have first drink size select. Let's do that first. Let's write that, then we'll do the add-in type select. Now the drink size select is relatively simple. All we need to do is just set the size. And so what is that size? Well, what I want to do is I want to extract the text that's small from either the back end or the shape itself. I want to extract small. So what we want to do is we want to remove the first 9 characters from the name of the shape that called it. So we can do that very easily. So drink size select is going to be size equals to, using replace, application.caller, and we're going to use the left, and I'm removing the first 9 characters, application.caller, and here we're going to remove the 9 characters, and we're going to replace them. What are we replacing them with? Nothing. That is going to extract the size. Okay, so now what we can do is we can take that size and put it into B10, coffee, POS dot range, B10 dot value equals size. Okay, so basically we're taking whatever size and we're putting it directly inside B10. Once we do that, this price is automatically going to update. So if I change this to small, you see the price is automatically going to update both here and here because this is connected to B10. So what then I want to do is I want to make an update. If B12 is our row, if the row equals something, I want to then update that with our selected item. So let's take a look inside here and update that. So we're going to focus on that. So now that we've updated B10, what I want to do is I want to update the back size. So this color, I want to update to brown and then the rest go to light brown. So we've done that already before. So all we really need to do is just copy the code that we had before and then update it. So let's take a look at this code right here. And then I'm going to scroll down to the macro that we're currently on. And we're going to update the shapes based on that. So this time we're not focused on category back, but we are focused on back size and then underscore. So again, we're going to do back size. And then instead of the category name, we're going to do the size. So this is going to change to size. So that is all we need. So basically it's going to take all of the back sizes. It's going to go change them to light brown. The selected size is going to change to that darker brown color. Okay, so once we set that automatically, what we want to do is I want to update the name. And so basically, if I've got a selected drink, I want to update the size. In other words, if the selected one, you see it's 21, we see we're on order row 21. So what I want to do is I want to run the macro that's going to save this item again. So it's going to change it to medium or small or big or whatever it is. And it's also going to update the price. So to do that, we're going to check if dot range, let's do coffee, POS, we haven't called out the sheet, range B12, dot value does not equal empty. Then what we're going to do, we're going to item, add, or update. And that's going to say update item if there is an item selected. So we want to update the size. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Then this is the macro that we are going to tie to all of those shapes and all those pictures. So it's going to be this one here, and this one here. We're going to right click, assign the macro to that, pasting that in. So when we select that drink size, so now you see here it's small 375. Here it's large 540. So you see that this updates automatically as we change it. So you can see medium, small. So now the drink size automatically changes based on that. Okay, very good. So that's really a cool macro. Next up, I want to write a macro called add in type select. And basically, when we make a selection on any of these types here, let's take a look at the names. It's called add in type 4, add in type 3. So what I want to do is I want to basically do the same thing, color all of them light. The selected one, I want to color to darker brown. And I also want to take whatever the text is in here and I want to put it directly inside B13. So it's relatively easy macro. That's called add in type select. It is that macro that we're going to assign to those buttons, making sure that we copy these here, and then we're going to assign it to those buttons there. So we're going to hold down the control. I had grouped these and then ungroup them. They should stay ungrouped. Assign the macro, pasting that in and clicking OK. All right, so that's done. We're going to save our work, and then we're going to write this macro called add in type select. So focusing on this, again, we're going to dimension here the type number. It's going to be type 1, 2, 3, or 4. Number as a string. String is fine. We don't need long in this case. I was focusing on with coffee POS. Okay, first thing I want to do, I want to extract that type number. Type number based on something they select equals replace. This time it's going to be relatively easy. We're going to take the application.caller. What am I going to replace? I'm going to remove something, add in type, comma, double quotes. So what is this going to do? It's going to basically take from the name of the shape, it's going to take add in type and it's going to replace it with nothing. What's it going to leave us with? It's going to leave us with the number 1. It's going to leave us with the number 2, number 3, or number 4. And that's very important because I'm going to know which one has been selected. So once we have it, we know the type number. I want to take that, again, I want to do something exactly similar to this right here. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste that directly in here. Okay. And then we're going to tab this in a little bit. Now, but instead of we're going to use add in type. This is the text that we're going to be changing. If it contains add in type, we are going to color it brown. Then if it contains add in type and the type number, we're going to give it the darker brown. So very, very, very simple. And also what I want to do inside B13 should take on whatever text is in this box. So whatever text is there, I want to put that directly inside B13. So we can do that. Dot range B13 dot value equals, and where are we going to find it? We know it's going to be this one right here, this shape number, add in type here, copy this, paste it in here, dot text frame 2, dot text range, dot text. So that's going to do that. That's all we need to do. That's going to set the type, Okay, very good. So when we set the type, that's all we need to do. Nothing more than that. And then we're going to save our work. So let's take a look at this. Setting the type colors it and make sure. So here, no, here, add, light, and extra. Perfect. That's all we want to do. Okay, next up, when we select one, so what do we want to happen? When we add in these add-ins, I want to take the word extra, whatever it is, no, add, light, or extra. I want to combine it with the text of this, and I want to put it on the first available row. So this will move down, and I'm going to put it right here in column N. Any prices that are associated with that add-in will go here. How do we know that there's a price? And I also want to take the ID of that add-in and I want to put it directly in 14. That's important because it's going to tell us what row and it's going to tell us what price that are both calculated. So that's going to go in here. So here's how we are going to do that. It's going to be called add-in select. That is the macro that we have already assigned here inside both the picture and the shape. So we've already assigned the macro. So all we need to do is just write the macro now. It's called add in select. So we're going to focus on the coffee with coffee POS. Okay, next up, I want to make sure that we want to know if B12, right? If we're selecting one of these things, we need to have an actual, there has to be an item in B12. If there's no item selected, we can't add anything to it has to be an original item that we're actually adding to. So we want to make sure that B12 contains a value. If dot range B12 dot value equals empty, then you need more vitamins. Oh, different B12. Okay, then we want to make sure that we have a value. So message box, please make sure to add an item before selecting an add-in or option. Okay, sometimes you call them options. So that's and exit sub. Okay, so we can exit out without B12. So I do want to know add-in. So I want to set the add-in ID. Remember, the ID is very important. I've got to take that ID and I got to place it directly inside B14. How do I extract that ID? If I take a look here and I remove the first 8 characters, it's going to leave me with that ID. Remember, the ID came directly from here. We added it on. Also, if they select on the back of the shape, I'm also going to take the first 8 characters here, and I'm going to 9 characters actually, 9 characters. That's going to leave me with that add-in ID. And I'll take that add-in ID, I'm going to place it directly inside of B14. So that's exactly what we're going to do right now. That add-in ID is equal to replace application caller, and then of course we're going to use the left of what? 9 characters. Application dot caller rep. Somebody asked me how I can do these so quick. Repetition. I do the same thing over and over again. If it gets boring, good, because that's how you learn. So, that's how we all learn. So this is going to be our add-in ID. Okay, very good. So that repetition will help your memory. So now I'm going to take that ID and put it directly inside cell B14. So now all we need to do is write the code .range B14 .value equals add-in ID. Okay, that'll automatically generate the price associated with that. Now all we need to do is add it in. So we're going to take that. I also want to take, again, just like we did before, whatever add-in we've selected, I want to color it brown. So again, we're going to copy the same thing again. Let's escape out of there, whatever cell we're in. Copy this, and of course, we're going to make the updates to the shape. We know that the shape is always going to contain the words, what it's going to contain here. We say add-in item. So we know if it's going to take add-in item. So we're going to update this to add-in item. Anything with add-in item, we're going to color it light brown. Then add-in item, and of course, the item add-in ID. So the add-in ID, we're going to give it that dark brown. Add-in ID. Okay, very good. That's going to set the dark brown. So how easy it is once we do the same thing again. Okay, so next up, I need to determine exactly what row we're going to be placing in. And now we already have a formula for the item row, and we used that when we were adding or updating. It was this right here. So I'm going to get the first available row. I'm just going to copy that, bring it down here, and that's going to put it directly inside our item row. So I'm going to set that item row. Once we have that item row, we can then place the add-in name inside column N. So we're going to use this .range and the item row .value. What's going to go in there? Well, I'm going to use whatever's inside B13. Take a look in B13 because we need to add. Is it extra? Is it no? Is it light? Or is it add? So we need to put this in first. So B13, whatever's in B13 is going to go in first, equals .range B13. And I want to put a space in there, B13 .value and a space. So and what else? I also want to know, what about this here, this shape here, whatever the text is in this shape, and here text frame 2 text. So basically the text of that shape we're going to be placing in. So that means, right, the text of this ice or espresso shot or ice cream shot, the text of that shape is going to go directly inside here. And we're going to put it in column N. Okay, next up, I want to know if there's any price associated with that. So we need to put that in. And where's that going to go? That's going to go in column O and the item row. So we can change this to O. And where's that price going to come from? It's going to come directly from here, if any, inside B16. So it's going to be equal to .range B16. Okay, .value, and that's going to be the price. Okay, and also we need to run the macro that's going to set the footer group. We haven't created that, we haven't updated that macro yet, but I do want to put that macro in here. So once we create it, it'll be automatically updated. And that's going to lower that footer about that macro. So we're going to place that right here. Set footer group. Okay, so saving our work so far. Now what we want to do, we've got here we've got a coffee already selected. So if I say add, let's say caramel syrup, we want to, okay, here it's already done. Nice, so it looks good. Add an ice cream scoop, and maybe we want no sugar. So lots of caramel, but no sugar. That doesn't make sense. Okay, so great. And also if it's no, I want to make sure that the price doesn't add a price. So notice I want to add something in here. I don't want to just index this, but I do want to update that price on that. So I don't want to be charged if it's no. So let's do something like if, I'm going to add an additional if this is no, we certainly don't want to charge for something if we're taking it away equals no, then the price is going to automatically be 0 because I don't think you should charge if you're not including something. Then set it to 0. Otherwise, then use this, and then we'll just close that loop right here with the parentheses. Okay, so that means if no, so let's say something like caramel syrup, right? If it's no caramel syrup, we want to make sure not to charge it. But if we're adding caramel syrup, we want to make sure to charge it. So you see the difference here? No syrup, 0. Adding it is 50 cents. Perfect. Or light or extra, probably 50 cents too. Okay, good. So I really like the way that that's looking. We've got that set up now. Let's update this. And what else do we have? Well, now what we do, that's pretty much it for all the features on the screen. Now we're just going to update the order. So we're going to go into the order module. I don't have very many macros, and then we'll be done with this. So we're going to look in the order. Remember, this is the sample one here. So we're going to close it up. We're only focused on this. So we've got new order, just a few macros to write on this. The first thing is new order. When does that happen? When I select next order, I want new order to be, I want basically this to be saved and cleared. That's it. So that's all that we're going to happen on new order. So let's take a look inside that and then order new. So we've dimensioned some variables already. So when we have a new order, we're just simply going to clear a few things out. So with coffee POS, I want to clear some fields out, dot range, and we'll take a look. Let's bring this over here so we can see some of the fields that we're going to be clearing out and bringing this down a little bit. Okay, so some of those are R3. R3 is that search field. I want to clear that search field out, so that's important. R3, also R12, B12. R12 is the paid amount. B12 is a selected row, so we need that row done. M13 all the way through P9999. That is our items here. So those are items. P is going to be, we're going to have a database row here. It'll be hidden. So I want to clear all the way from M13 all the way down. So we need to clear that out. And we're going to clear those contents. Clear contents. Okay, so once we've cleared the contents, so it's clear. Let's call it clear order fields. Also, what I want to do is I want to set the next order ID. Now we know that using the max formula, we've already got the order ID here. And I've got the order ID. I'm going to make sure it's equal to, I want to set this order ID equal to whatever is here. So we've got the order ID here. The next order ID is B3. I'm going to take whatever value is inside of B5 and I'm going to put it directly inside of B3. So we can do that inside our code. Dot range B3 dot value equals dot range B5 dot value. Set next order ID. Okay, so now once we set the next order ID, I also want to set the default location. Remember, sometimes we have a default location. It's right here located in R7, but it's going to come directly from whatever default location is right here inside E11. So we're just going to add that into the code here. So dot range R11 is, R7 dot value is equal to admin dot range E11. E11 is where that's located. And then dot value, and we'll set that as the location, die-in or takeaway basically. And next up, I also want to set the default payment type. So I'm just going to copy this here, and then we're going to update the ranges here. And then we're going to call this default payment type. So what is that default payment type? That default payment type is going to be based right here. Oops, this is not correct here. Let's see. Oh, I think we're going to E11. Okay, so I want to set this up. Cash E10 is where it's going to come from. So that's where it's going to come from, the default payment type. And that default payment type is going to go directly inside right here, payment type here, located in R11. So we'll set that default payment type, R11. Okay, so once we have the default payment type, I want to update the footer group. Again, we're going to do set footer group, and we're going to update footer position. It's going to go higher, right? If it's a new order and there's no items, it's going to go right up here. So that's a macro we're going to write. So basically, I want this footer to move all the way up to about like here. Okay, we're going to write that macro momentarily. Next up, so that's it for our new order. That's all we need to do for new order. Next up, save or update. If I want to save an order or update an order, this is the macro that we're going to write. So with the coffee POS, and we're going to determine the last row. Again, the last row is this one we've done here, same thing here, right, except that this time I'm going to call it last row. It's a little bit more. So, because it's the last row. So I'm going to copy this here, and we're going to call this the last row. I'm going to paste it directly inside here, except this time we're going to call it last row. I like that a little bit better. Let's do equals. And then we'll just call, instead of the first available row, we'll do the last row. So that's important because I need to loop through all the rows with values and make sure to save everything. Okay, so if the last row is less than 13, that means there's no data. Then let the user know. Message box, please add any item to save this order. We don't want to save an order with no items. Exit sub. Assuming that there are items, we can move on. I want to know if it's a new order or it's an existing order. How would we know that? Well, if it's a new order, this will be empty. So if I change this to, let's say 9, you see that, or 8, there's no order associated with that. Why is that? Because I only have 2 orders saved. So anything beyond that, and when I look here at the order row, there's no order row that's associated. So I know already that that is going to be a new order. So let's go ahead and write some code for that. If dot range B4 dot value equals empty, then it's a new order, else existing order. And if. Okay, now next up, so what if it's a new order? If it's a new order, I need to set an order row, the first available row inside my order screen. Orders dot range A9999 dot end XLUp dot row +1. That's the first available row. First available row. Okay, orders dot range. I'm gonna put that order ID there. A and order row dot value equals what? The order ID, whatever's located in B3 equals dot range B3. That's gonna be that first order ID dot value. Set that order ID. Okay, but what if it's an existing? All we need to do is set the order row based on what is located in B4. So that order row is equal to whatever's in B4, existing order. We just need to update that order row. Okay, great. So what do we need to do? We don't have any data mapping. So basically, I just need to write a few lines of code that are going to save the information that I want. What do I want saved? I want the date, the location, the total, and whether it was paid or not. So I want all that information here. Okay, so to do that, we're just going to add that information in. Considering we can all save it, just pretty much easy, just four lines of code. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. That's going to be regardless whether it is an existing or new orders dot range. B, we're going to start and the order row dot value is equal to, I want to save the time and date. So we'll just use now. Current time and date, current time and date. Okay, so now what do we want? Let's just copy. We got to put information in C, in D, and in E. So we're going to update the range here, here, and here. Okay, so what's going to go in column C? C is the location. Where's that going to come from? That's going to come directly from, take a look at the location, R7. So we just need to update that to R7 and set that as the location. Okay, so once we have that, we can just copy and paste, and then we can update the ranges accordingly. So inside the next one, column D, we are going to put the order total. And lastly, the paid amount is going to go in column E, paid amount. Okay, that order total is going to come directly from here, located in R10. So we're going to place that, R10. And then the paid amount we will have in let's go ahead and put it in R12. Okay. All right. So R12 is going to take on the paid amount. So that's it as far as the main order. But now we really need to add or update the items. So add or update order items. So to do that, we're going to focus on a loop. So for the order item row is going to equal to 13 to the last row. That's a loop. Next order item row. Okay, so once we are in that order, we need to set the database row. Now, if it's been saved already, I'm going to place that database row in column P here. So I'm going to look in P. If it's empty, it has not been added. Now that order item is going to be saved in this database. So we see we've got the item type, information, the row on the order, and the database row. So this is where we want to save it here. So here's what we're going to do that. We're going to place it. If it's empty, we're going to use a new database row. If it's not empty, we're going to use whatever is here inside column P. And that's exactly why we cleared out column P on the new item. We wanted to make sure we cleared it out. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to check that. If dot range P and order item row dot value equals empty, then what are we going to do? It is a brand new, else it's existing. So else existing. Okay, so we can extract that. If it's existing, the order row, let's put it in here. Item database row. Item database row is equal to whatever is located here in P. Okay, I'm going to place it right there. Okay, existing database row, existing database row. Okay, if it's a new one, we need to set the item database row is equal to order items, the first available row here inside the order item. So we're going to +1. That's the first available row. So we have that. I also want to take that and I want to put that brand new database row and I want to put it directly inside P. So now it has a value. It's going to take on that item database row. Okay, set database row inside column P. Once we have both of those, I want to put the order ID. I want to take that and put it inside column A. So it's going to be order items dot range a and the item database, the only for new items, row dot value is equal to, where's that that order ID is located in B3 dot range B3 dot value. Okay, so for new items, we're going to take the order ID, and we're going to place it right there. Okay, that looks good. That's good for all the new items. But I've got two more things. If we take a look inside the order items here, I also want to place the row and the database row. Then for the item name, type, and amount are going to be regardless if it's new or existing. So let's put in column E and F as well. That's going to be the row and the database row. So I'm just simply going to copy this here, and then we're going to paste it below one more time, two more times, and that's going to be column E and column F. F is going to take on the formula equals, and that formula is going to be that equals row, so it's going to take on the row. Okay, and then set database row. Then what we want to do inside E is I'm going to put in that item order, item row. I want to know the row, the order, item row. Okay, great. So now regardless if it is for new or existing, we want to add information in B, C, and D. So B is going to take on the item type, C is going to take on the item name, and D is going to take on the amount. So B, C, and D. This is going to be, so the name, where's the name coming from? It's coming from, well, we don't know. Is it coming from M or is it coming from N, right? So we don't know exactly where the name is, right? The name could be coming from column M or column N if it's an idea. So we need to know if M is empty, use what's in N. So we need to determine where the item name is coming from. The price is always going to be in the column. So we're going to run an if-then statement and to determine that. So we can do that, and let's just set it up right here. If we can use an if-then dot range M and the order item row dot value does not equal empty, then we can set B to whatever's in that. Then we can do else. And then and if, we'll build those out. B is going to equal to what? Whatever's located here, and we'll fix that up here. Then we're going to add it in here. Add the parentheses on here and okay. So that's so basically, but what if it is empty? If it's empty, we're going to put whatever's in N. So I'm just going to copy this here, and we'll put some names in here. So this is going to be N. So this would be an add-in or add-in. So we're going to put an add-in item, or it's going to be here a regular item. Okay. So we're going to put in B is going to take on whatever's inside M or whatever's inside N. Okay, I like that. There we go. And this is going to be for add-in items and regular item here. Okay, very good. So what about inside C? Well, C is simply going to take on whatever's inside column O. We want the name there. So that's relatively easy. Let's take a look back in here, shop items. So order items here. The amount is going, we have in C, we have the name. B is the item type. I know. C, and then, okay, so B is the item type. Where's that item type going to come from? That's relatively explanatory. We can put that right here so we can go in order. B, that item type, we see that it's coming directly from the item. So we know it's an item. I'm going to put that right here. So here, I want to know what the item type is. So if it's inside M, we know it's an item equals item. And that's important because when we load it, we need to do. However, if it's an add-in, I want to put it as an add-in. There we go. Add in. So here we go. Add in. That way we have both the item type. So when we load it in, we know that if it's an item, we know to put it in column M. If it's an add-in, we know to put it in column N. So we know when we load that order back in, we know what column to place them in. So it's very important. Okay, this is going to take on D here. So we want to know what's in D. D is simply the price, and that's going to come from O. And that's going to come from column O. So we just need to copy this here and put in O and put in the price. So this is the price. Price is always going to have the same column. Okay, and update this to column O. Okay, very good. So that's all we need for the save or update, but I do want, once we save or update it, I want to clear everything out and put new in. So we're just going to add the item right here. So new. So I'm going to run macro to add new order. So basically we're going to save it and clear out the fields all in one go. Okay, saving our work so far, and then it is this macro that we want to assign to that button called next order. So I'm going to copy this. We're going to go into the POC, and it is this button here that we've already grouped. We're going to right click that. And we're going to assign the macro to that. So we just assign it here, and it's going to paste that in here, clicking OK. Okay, so this is going to be order 3. We've got information here, and I probably should clear it all out. Okay, so let's go ahead, and we still didn't update the subtotal, but that's okay. So let's add a coffee here, and we'll add a green tea here, and then here's the green tea, and we'll add no sugar onto that green tea. Okay, and we also want to put in some fresh milk into that green tea. And we'll do one more item, a smoothie here, and then we're going to go ahead and save it. All right, and we'll put some caramel, add some caramel syrup into the smoothie. Okay, so, and we haven't wrote the macro that's going to update this, but that's okay. So then we're going to click next order, and everything got cleared out. So let's take a look inside our orders. Order number 3, takeaway, 13, and the paid is 6. These are not formatted both, but that's okay. When they come back in, they are. Order items, we have all of our order items here. So I like that add-in, making sure that we've got the add-in type. This didn't come. We didn't have an add-in. I'll double check on that, but it looks okay. Maybe we added one extra row. So I'll double check on this to see why it didn't come in. Okay, so let's take a look. And now what we want to do is we want to be able to load it. When I select order number 3 here, I want that order to come back inside here. So that's called the next macro, and that's going to be called the order load. So let's take a look inside that and see. We're going to focus on with. So basically what we do, you're going to search for that. Let's say they put in 3 here. When they put in 3 here, I want that order row to come in here. You see, it's based on that. If this is a whole number and it's good and it's not empty, I know it's a correct order ID. I can then take that order and I can place it directly inside B3 and then run the macro to load it. So we're going to focus on the coffee with coffee POS. This is one of my longer trainings. If I need to make sure that B4 isn't empty, if it is, that means there's an incorrect order because we have to have a row. Dot range. If you're still sticking with me, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let me know in the comments that you stuck with us on the whole video. Equals empty, then what do we want to do? Let the user know. Message box, please enter a correct order ID. Okay, we're going to exit that sub. Okay, next up, we're going to set the order row based on whatever's located in B4. That's going to be our order row. So order row equals B4. Once we have the order row, then we want to clear out associated fields. So we're going to clear out not all the fields that we did when the add new, but a lot of them. So I'm going to copy this here, and then I'm going to bring it down here and clear out some fields. Okay, so we have fields that we're going to be clearing out, B12, but not R12. We don't necessarily need that. B12 is important. That's selected row. The payment, probably we could do that, but that's going to load up anyways if there's any payment. M13, we do need all these. Okay, so that looks very good. And then next up, what we want to do is I want to set the value. In B19, what do I want to set? Whatever's in B. So now we have to fill in these fields. So I want to take whatever's located in column B. I want to put that directly inside B19. So B19 is going to take on the date and time. Dot range, B19 dot value equals orders dot range B and the order row dot value, date and time. Okay, so next up, I also want to know the location and the paid amount. That's it. That's all I want to load in. So I'm going to copy this here, spell time correctly. Paste that in here once and then twice. So now we're going to focus on R7. R7 is our location. So we're going to put in location. Location is going to come directly from column C. And then next up, we want to focus on R12. R12 is that paid amount. And then we're going to put that directly. It's coming from column E. E is the paid amount. Okay, so everything else is calculated, meaning the total is calculated auto, so we can skip the total because that's automated. And so we're just going to bring that information here as D, and that is our paid amount. Okay, great. That's it for the main information, but what about the order items? So now what we need to do is load order items. So basically what I need to do is I need to run an advanced filter on these order items. I need to know all the orders associated with order ID 4 or whatever's located in B3. The results are going to be here, and then we're just simply going to load the results. We know the row. Based on the item type, if it's an item, it's going to go in column M. If it's a add-in, it's going to go in column N. So that's how we know. Okay, so we're going to bring those in. So with order items, I want to determine the last, let's do last row. Last row equal that. And then I also want to know last row is less than 4. We're going to exit the sub out. We're going to run that advanced filter just as we always do. And this can be based on A through F here. A through F, we can update that. Our criteria is in J2 through J3. So J2 through J3. We're copying it to range M through Q. So we're going to update this M through Q. Don't forget, if you do want to create these applications and learn how to sell them. I'm going to do all that in my mentorship course. It's a 132-hour masterclass, and I teach you every step of the development process. And of course, I also teach you how to sell your own Excel-based applications for passive income while I create an incredible accounting application. That's in the mentorship course. You won't want to miss that. Once we have the last row, we're going to determine the last row is equal to based on whatever's located in column M. So we're going to update that to M, making sure. If it's less than 3, we can exit. There are no orders then. So last results row is less than 3. We can exit the sub. Then we're going to run a loop, assuming that we do have data for the result row equals 3 to the last result row. Close our loop. Oops. Next result row. Okay, so what we have here is going to run that information. So for the result row, we're going to set the order item row. That's the most important. I need to know what row it's going in. That's going to come from P equals dot range P and the result row P and the result row dot value. So that's the order item row. Next up, what I want to do is I want to determine, is it an add-in or is it an item? If dot range M and the result row dot value equals item, then we know it's an item, obviously. Then, of course, then we're going to add it in column M. Then else add in. Okay, so what if it's in column M? If it's in column M, coffee, POS, I'm going to call it the sheet again, dot range M and the order item row dot value equals what? Whatever's in located equals in N in the result row, dot range N and the result row dot value. Okay, so basically that is going to be the item. Okay, so the main item, I'm going to put that here. Main item. So what if it's not? If it's an add-in, I'm going to copy this, else it's an add-in. It's going to come directly from, it's going to go in column N. So basically, let's take a quick look at this. If it's a main item, it's going in column M. If it's a sub-item or add-in, it's going to go in column N. Okay, so continuing on. So we know that we're going to directly come from M. What about the amount there? So we can do the amount. So that's going to focus on add-in. If it's an amount, what we need to do is just put that in column O. So we can copy this part here. Let's just copy all of this and then update that. So inside column O is where we're going to put that amount. And it's going to come directly from column O here. So it's O to O. Relatively simple on that. Okay, that would be the amount or the price. Just call it amount for now. Okay, very good. So we've loaded up that information. And now what we want to do is we want to add in the information for the database row. Very important. I want to take this item row, what's in Q, and I want to put it in column P. So we're going to put here inside column P, we're going to put whatever's in column P here. Okay, perfect. We're going to call this the item database row. Okay, very, very good. Let's clean it up here, get rid of the spaces, and then we'll test it out. Okay, so clearing that out and clearing this out and the extra spaces here. Okay, so when do we want this to run? Saving. So I want this to run. Let's click on, I want to do order load. Now, when do we want it to run? I want to run this macro when the user makes a change to R3, but not if it's empty. So let's take a look inside that. And that's going to be on the worksheet change. So coffee POS. We are going to run a macro called worksheet, and this is going to be the change event. So we don't need any selection change. We can get rid of that. So if the user makes if not intersection, and it's going to be based on R3, and range R3 is not empty, then we want to do a few things. What do I want to do? Well, first I want to check to make sure that there is a row that B1 is correct, right? I want to make sure that if it's empty, that means it's an incorrect order number. If range B1 dot value equals empty, then let the user know. Message box, please select, enter a correct order number. Okay, and then we can exit the sub. Okay, if it is correct, what do I want to do? I want to take whatever's in R3, I want to place it directly inside. So that correct order number that we know is correct, I want to take that directly and put it in B3. So we can do that right now. So range B3 dot value equals range R3 dot value. Set order number. And I also want to clear out, now I want to clear out range R3. Now be very careful when you're making a change to R3. And you want to make sure that this is empty because I'm clearing it out. I'm making a change to a cell inside the change event. So be careful with this. Otherwise, it could loop out. In other words, if I don't have this here and I clear it out, it's going to loop continuously and it'll probably crash. So if you get crashes, it's because of something like that. Range R. You could also disable worksheet events too, which helps. Dot clear content. Okay, and then lastly, I want to run the macro. Run macro to load the order. Okay, great. Saving our work here. And then let's go ahead and test it out and see what that happens. Okay, we have no order in there, so I'm going to just double click here and enter that and see what we got. Okay, got one too many S's here. Don't need that. Continuing on, and let's take a look inside. Oh, looks like we got to set the row. Looks like a little bit too rows. So we want to make sure that we're setting the rows, the ones that start at 13. So that's important. So if we take a look inside our order items here, we want to make sure that our item row is this queue, not P. So we'll make sure that our item, let's go ahead and take a look inside the order rows. Setting that order row right as we loading those order items, it's got to be Q, right? The order item row is Q, not P. This is our database row. So very important. So now all we need to do is just run it again here and it'll be at the top, which is where we want it. Okay, great. So it's looking good. I probably want to make it a little bit faster. Now what we want to do also is run the macro that's going to set that footer group. So we're going to put that in. So that's the last thing we want to do. Set footer group. Okay, so we have that macro. It's going to be down here, right here. Probably let's place that up here. I'm going to put that up here. I want to do that now. Okay, so setting the footer group, relatively easy. So how do we do that? Well, what I want to do is I want to determine the last row. I want to get that item row. That's very, very important. Or the last row, either one is fine. I'm going to copy this. That's the first thing we need. So with coffee POS, I want to determine the last row. And but this last row, I want to make sure that we're going to set it up exactly right. So the last row, we're going to add one. Now what I want to do is if the item row equals 13, then I'll do last row. Let's do last row. Last row equals 13, then last row. I just want to set the default, the minimum. Last row equals 14. Okay, very, very good. So this is going to be the for new orders, just setting the minimum. Now what I want to do is set that footer group. Remember, we've got a shape here, group shape. This is called footer group. We want to place this. I want to place the left position based on column M, and I want to place that top position based on that last row called the footer group. So we're going to place that right now. So dot shapes, footer group, footer group, dot, what is that top position? So do left position equals dot range M, and the item row, we could just do M column. M dot left, that's sufficient for the left position. And also for the top position, I want to place that. So what is the top position? So we're going to place the top position here, copy that. But this time, top position is going to be based on the last row. Dot range, we can use M. And the last row, dot top, plus, let's say +1. Let's take a look at that. All right, and see what that looks like. All right, so continuing on. Now we're just going to run that macro. Let's bring it down here. I'm going to run that macro, shrink it up here so I can watch it, see where it positions itself. I'm going to bring it down just off the position and check it out and see where it's positioned, see if I like the position. Let's fix that. Dot top equals, forgot the equals there. Okay, continuing on. Okay, it looks pretty good. It's pretty good there. Maybe one more pixel down. It's almost perfect. I think the top maybe 2 maximum, but it's pretty good just the way it is. Okay, all right, I like that. That's looking really good. It's nice. Remember, this macro is going to run every time we update it. Every time we click next order, it's going to automatically update it. So now we can add, and it's going to add every time we add an item. I want to make sure that we're going to be updating it so we can add an item. So now as we add items, see the footer groups moving down. That's exactly what I want. Even if we add something here, it's going to automatically move down. Okay, good. I really like the way that that's looking. Notice that footer is now moving down. All right, just a few more macros, not very much. So we're going to focus on the print now. That print's going to be tied to that print button, obviously, with coffee POS. Inside that, I want to set that, again, last row or item row, either one. We need that. That's important. So I'm going to copy this right here. And I'm going to paste it right down here, except this time what we need to do is we need to make sure that not only the last row, but we need to add additional for that because we need to compensate for that footer row. So we're going to change this to 8. So that last row is going to be that plus 8. Okay, so now what we want to do is I want to set the page setup. So dot page setup. And then what is that print range? I want to set the print area is going to be equal to what? Well, the first area, if we take a look at the first cell, it's going to be M3. So we know that. The last one's going to be O and some of that. Oh, I forgot to show you this one. Sorry. This one is formatted. We do have our rows in here. I should general. Okay, so if we take a look inside, oh, I need to save it first, but I will, let's go to next order. Okay, you see those? Now let me load that order in here. I want to show you something. So take a look. We have the database rows in here. I'll make that a little bit faster with applications loading a little bit slow. So these are the database rows that we placed, but we want to hide those. So we're going to go into the home. I had that already. More number formats. And then I'm just going to hide them using a custom format with 2 semicolons. If we have text in there, it'll be 3 semicolons, but it's just numbers. So that's it. That's all we need to do to hide them. Okay, great. So continuing on. So the print area is going to be at M3. So we're going to use quotation marks. It's a string. It's going to be M, and then 3 is going to be that first row. Using a colon, it's going to be all the way to, colon here, all the way through O is our column. And what is that last row? And the last row and last row. So that is our page setup print area. So once we have that, all we need to do is just print it out. So we can print out using this one. And we take a look at some of the options here, from or to. We don't need that. We can keep those blank. Preview, active printer. We'll set true to our active printer. Print to file, no. Collate, print to ignore print areas, and false. Okay, so that's going to print it to our active printer. For me, it's Snagit is my active printer. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the printout. We don't need anything else. So we're going to take this macro order print. I'm going to assign it to this button right here in the lower right. So we have a group already, so we can assign it to the macro, pasting that in, clicking OK. Saving our work here, always saving it before running everything. And now I'm going to click print order, and we can see what happens. Order print. Oh, problem. The formula. Okay, we can kind of get formula equals. Okay, no worries on that, all good. And then continuing on that, it's going to print out. It's printing it to my default printer. We'll take a quick look at it, and here we got a nice receipt. It's getting cut off here at the bottom, right? So I need to increase the row one or raise it either way. So let's take a look. I'll probably just raise this up a little bit here. It's a little bit low. So we could do 2 options, increase the row, but I'll probably raise this up. Okay, that should be sufficient. So now we got a little bit raised up. Okay, very good. I like that. Now what we want to do is, what's the next macro print? We're going to set the location. This is relatively easy. All I need to do is make sure that these are labeled. So this picture here, I want to make sure that I've labeled that. That means if they click the picture, or if they click the button, I want to make sure it is the same. We're going to call it. So it's going to look for it. I want to make sure this says dining in as well, making sure dining in. And I want to make sure also that the same thing for the takeaway here. If I take a look at this group here, I want to make sure that this also is named correctly. So we have picture, takeaway. So I always want to make sure it's exactly the same. So I'm going to copy this and paste it in here. So that means if whatever they click on, I'm going to take the name of what they've clicked on, and I'm going to put it directly inside R7. So let's do that right now. Setting that location, super simple. So coffee, POS, dot range. We see it's R7, there's a range, R7 dot value is equal to what? Again, it's simply equal to the application dot color, the name of the shape. So that means whether it's so that's it. So set location, copy that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the control, select both of these groups, assign the macro here, pasting that in, set location. So if we take a look at takeaway, dining in, takeaway, whether they click on the icon or the shape, perfect. Okay, that's all we need to do there. Okay, very good. What's next? Set the payment type. Also just as easy. The payment type also very simpler. Very simple. We can do this, copy this, paste it in here. This time it's going to be R11. Okay, so we just want to make sure, again, let's just check our selection pane on these. I want to make sure that we have named them correctly. That's always important. So we're going to go into that selection pane, and we're going to scroll down to the selection, and I want to make sure that we have both of those. The gift card, credit card, cash, clear, making sure also I want the backgrounds as well. So cash, good, the background looks good on that. I'm going to check in the background, credit card, and I'm checking the gift card. Okay, so they're all correct. Now all we need to do is hold down the control. In fact, maybe I'll ungroup these temporarily. We don't necessarily need them grouped. So I'm going to ungroup this here, select that again, and then ungroup it. So this is what I want to ungroup. And okay, so I'm going to then simply just select all of these here and then assign the macro. So assign that macro. And what is that called? That's called the payment type select. So set payment type or payment type here. Okay, so now keep an eye out for the payment type here inside our cell R11, making sure that if I select payment type, credit card, gift card, credit card, perfect, cash. Okay, so that's working quite nicely. Okay, very, very good. Now what we want to do is we want to update the paid amount. Update the paid amount, also relatively easy. So what do we need to do here? I'm going to copy this a little bit. We're going to use this here, but we're going to update a little bit. So that paid amount is going to be based on R12. So we're going to focus on that. Now the R12 is what are we going to change? But I also want to make sure that whatever's there doesn't get erased. So we're going to use the current value, whatever's there, plus something. Plus what? And we want to know the application coffee POS dot shapes application caller, because I want the text application dot caller dot text frame dot text range dot text, and that's going to be all except for the clear button, right? And the clear we don't want, that's going to be different. So dot text. So that's it. So let's take a look. I want to assign that to, let's take a look here. I'm going to group these, a little bit easier to assign the macros, and then we'll do it individually. So I'm going to group all these numbers to keep them from moving and grouping them together. Okay, so I'm going to assign a macro to each one, and then we'll make a change on the clear. So N, and this is going to be the update paid amount. So here, update paid amount, click OK. Now, perfect. So for the paid amount for the clear, we can write that. All we're going to be doing is clearing whatever's in R12. So that's relatively easy. So here, clear paid amount, just the clear contents. Dot clear contents. Okay, very good. So this macro, update paid amount, is only for that clear button. So we're going to select on that one only and change that one. And that's going to be called clear paid amount. Clicking OK. Okay, so we see that there's no paid. So what I want to do is I want to add, we've got a $37 bill. I'm going to add that we paid $40.00. Okay, now keep in mind that this only works well when it is a text, right? So it's got to be a text. That is why it's formatted as a text. That's why why we're using total paid. In fact, I should use that. Okay, just update that 0.00. I want that format. Okay, so this is the formatted one. This is the text. So that way and let's try to clear it out now. Clear. Okay, it works perfectly. So pay for let's say 72 here, and our changes. Okay, 344. Clearing it out, paying 4000. Okay, I like that. That's working quite nicely. All right, let's take a quick look. Actually, that is it for the macros. Let's double check to make sure I've filled in all the macros. Wow, what an incredible training this was. One of my longest and best. I hope you've gotten so much. We showed you how to automatically color shapes, select categories. I'll be making a few updates to this. I want it a little bit faster. Also, let me know what ideas you have. We showed you how we can dynamically add sizes and update that. We can create add-ins, additions, extras. We also showed you how you can automatically load, save, and update orders. Very, very cool. It's been a really fantastic training. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, I want to see you on Patreon. We'll be making an update there. So make sure you join us there. So much to offer there on that platform. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.